Before we get started here, has everybody filled out their appearance slips for an agenda item or public comment? If you're an applicant, you do not need to fill one of these out.
You mean, like, if we're here again, an applicant, we do fill one out?
If you want to, you don't have to come up and speak, but we can read it into the record for you.
Oh, speaking is enough.
Yes.
Thank you.
So if you don't want to fill it out, just when you want to go up there and speak, we'll allow that. Okay. All right. Any other question before we get going here? All right. I ask that everybody mute their cell phones and silence along with other electronic devices out of the respect of the committee and the public. All right. I call this Sawyer County Zoning Committee meeting to order. Roll call, Kathy, please.
Ron Buckholz.
Present.
Tweed Schuman. He's on his way, huh?
He's on his way. He told me.
Okay. Kay Wilson.
Here.
Dale Magnuson.
Here.
Marshall Savitsky. Steve Carrianen.
Here.
Thank you.
Okay, Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, number C, statement of committee and hearing procedure statements of a hearing notice, the full statement of the committee and hearing procedure document, including directions for individuals wishing to speak to a public hearing to be conducted at this zoning committee meeting are available on the information table in the back of the room next to the agenda for today's meeting. The statement of committee hearing procedures document is hereby incorporated into the record of committee meetings. Any public hearing conducted today, I may have read that twice, but has been published on a Class 2 notice in accordance with Chapter 985 of the Wisconsin statutes in Sawyer County Record and the Sawyer County Gazette as published on November 5th and 2025. All right, number D, approval of the October 17th minutes. I need a motion to approve that, please.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Carrianen,
Second.
the second by Ms. Wilson to approve October 17th previous minutes. Any more discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Okay, public comment. Public comment is time is intended for general public comments. I'm not gonna read the whole thing, but as you can see today, we have a lot of people in the audience and we gotta limit it to 3 minutes. We're not gonna time you, but if you can keep it to the 3 minutes, we appreciate that. So does anybody want to speak on public comment? Okay, Linda, step forward, state your name and address for the committee, please.
So please note that this time for public comments is for general public comments, not those comments related to a specific agenda item.
Agenda item. Yes, sorry, I didn't say that.
Yeah, thank you. Linda Zilmer, property owner in Edgewater, resident of Birchwood. And yeah, for the folks that are here, this public comment is generally for non-agenda items. And when you get into a public hearing, that is public testimony. And I think that being that there are decisions to be made, that maybe there is some leeway with the time. I wanted to, first of all, reference something. There was an email communication yesterday between, I sent emails to the zoning committee members, and there was a response from the zoning administrator suggesting that the county proceed with the proposal to get quotes to amend the entire zoning ordinance or rewrite the zoning ordinance, and that there's $100,000 put in the budget for it. Sawyer County does not need a new zoning ordinance. The zoning ordinance is not the problem. And just to follow up on that, I don't know that the multi-dwelling development ad hoc committee ever got thanked for the months of work that they put in doing the zoning committee's job this year to propose draft amendments that would fix many of the inconsistencies and conflicts within the existing ordinance, because really that's the only thing that the zoning ordinance needs. The work that committee did, for those folks here who don't know, is the committee was comprised of representatives from each of the towns. They also had comments about the recent camping cabin zoning ordinance amendment that was made that was never acknowledged. And there were a lot of concerns, and the towns were not presented with the options to address their concerns. This committee and the county board as a whole has been advised that if they rely on legal counsel when they make a decision, that is good advice. However, I do not believe the zoning committee listened to the legal advice, which advised the committee that they needed to come up with specific reasons regarding addressing public health, safety, and welfare for any limitations that they put on campgrounds. And that just because the majority of towns voted for a certain percentage limitation, that probably was not sufficient. Thankfully, I believe members of the Sawyer County Lakes Forum and private individuals will be presenting to this committee draft amendments that will propose certain conditions for pout sizing and for shoreland density of camping units that will allow you to amend the zoning ordinance to address all the issues that the towns had and which are defensible. And because of 5 minutes, or the 3 minutes, I will pause here, but I do have comments later in the agenda items. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else want to speak in public comment?
Anyone online wish to make general public comment? Again, comments not related to a specific agenda item.
Yes. Binding here.
Ooh.
Go ahead.
Okay, so I'm probably speaking to some of the same items, why we're wasting $100,000 on a zoning rewrite when we have been to the towns, I want to say in the last year since MDD ad hoc, with changes to the zoning ordinance, like every month, every other month. I'm just confused what this committee's doing. It's your job to write the ordinance and zoning administration's job to enforce the ordinance. And you almost got to be blind to drive around this county and see zoning ordinance violations everywhere you look. And I'm just really confused why we're not addressing enforcement of the ordinance when we have insurance companies out there right now that actually have a rating score on zoning enforcement because it can lead to public safety issues. This is a public safety problem. To expand on that is LexisNexis has a zoning score for counties. And that is starting to come into rating, and it's going to cost taxpayers in the county money. All of us who own property across this county, it's going to cost us money due to lax enforcement. To address MDD ad hoc, nothing happened. It's been a year now. Nothing has come out of it. I don't know why we're wasting people's time in rewriting ordinances or changing the ordinance when nothing's happening. So I used to be confused. Now I get it. That's the committee's job, is to not sit here and look at all this stuff that's going on, and it's starting to cost people money. And you're going to have to address it at some point. And I don't know. I don't get it. Keep coming back to the towns because you're going to need more changes. I see piles of agenda items again for more changes to an ordinance you're planning to rewrite, and I don't get it. As far as legal advice in this county, AI can give you crappy legal advice. I don't understand why we're not automating that piece away as well. And it's just a waste of money across this county. And I used the word flabbergasted, but now I get it. That's just what we do here. Thank you.
Okay, anyone else out there want to speak in public comment? All right. Not? Jay?
This is a rezone application. This is a public hearing in the town of Coudray, rezone number 25-009, Gerald and Deborah Burris, northeast one quarter, the southeast one quarter, section 28, township 38 north, range 8 west, tax ID 5071. It is 40.06 total acres, zoned residential recreational 2. Purpose of the request is to rezone from residential recreational 2 to agricultural 1 for a hobby farm to raise 2 steer and a milk goat every year for their own consumption. As part of the staff report included as part of the packet.
The way of my ancestors.
Can you find out who that might be, Mike, and mute that?
If I am to live at all.
I can't see who it is because there's about 30 people in the meeting. Again, purpose of the request is rezone from residential recreational 2 to agricultural 1. The shoreline wetland overlay district is not subject to change as part of this request. As part of the attached maps included in the packet, again, the applicant is requesting to rezone approximately 40 acres from RR2 to agricultural 1. In conversations with the applicant, they're interested in more of a hobby farm type of operation. Generally, the A2 zone district is more suited for this type of hobby farm operation, but in this case, there's no other land zoned A2 in the immediate vicinity. It was recommended to the applicant that the A1 zone district might be the better route for this request. There's also immediately adjacent agricultural 1 zone property to the north. There is already a dwelling on this property. The surrounding land use is mixed agricultural, light residential, and predominantly forestry. The town of Coudray comprehensive plan future land use maps show this area as forest residential with agricultural mixed in and around the area. The town's recommendation on the proposed rezone should be highly considered for approval or denial as part of this request. As by action of the town board, motion was approved. James Bassett, town chair, Phil Miles, supervisor, Jeff Payne, supervisor. No additional comments, signed Charlie Warner, town clerk. There were 7 additional notification letters sent out to adjacent property owners. 0 additional comments were received. That is all.
Okay, thank you, Jay. All right, I need a motion to go into public hearing on rezone number 25-009, please.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Kiriainen. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a second by the second by Miss Wilson. So all in favor to go into public hearing, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. We are now in public hearing on rezone number 25-009. Okay, is the applicant here? No.
Was there online? I thought I saw him online. Yeah.
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, state your name and address, please, for the record.
Sure. Jerry Burrs, 3079 North County Road C, Exelon, Wisconsin.
Okay, what do you want to tell the committee?
What am I supposed to tell them beyond the instruction you gave
Well,
me?
that, you tell us what you want us to know about your application here.
Oh, so we have some chickens currently, but we'd like to have a milk goat. We raised our kids back in Brown County for 20 years, had a milk goat. Finally decided we'd like to get back into it once our kids are gone. And we'd like to raise a couple steer every year. We share some with our family as well. And I cleared some property, and we got a land use permit to put up a small barn to house the animals.
Okay. All right. Anybody have any questions for the applicant? No? Mr. Magnuson? Ms. Wilson? Any questions?
No, sir.
Okay. All right, thank you. Does
Okay.
anyone out there want to speak in opposition of this rezone? Does anyone out there want to speak in favor of this rezone? Not? Need a motion to come out of public hearing on rezone number 25-009.
So moved.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion by Ms. Wilson, a second by Mr. Magnuson to come out of public hearing on rezone number 25-009. All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed, motion carried. We are now out of public hearing.
Let the record reflect that Mr. Schuman is now present for the meeting. This is part of the discussion action for rezone number 25-009. Owner Gerald and Deborah Burris. Legal description previously read into record. Request is to rezone 40.06 total acres from residential recreational 2 to agricultural 1.
Okay, committee.
I'll make a motion to approve rezone number 25-009 with findings of fact 1, 2, 6, 7, 12, and 13.
Okay. All right. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
A second by Mr. Magnuson to approve the rezone number 25-009 with the findings of facts stated. Any more discussion? Not, Kathy, can we have a roll call, please?
Ron Buckholz.
Yes.
Dale Magnuson.
Yes.
Kay Wilson.
Yes.
Tweed Schuman.
Yes.
Steve Carriennen.
Yes.
All in favor. Thank you.
Moving on, this conditional use permit. This is a public hearing in the town of Bass Lake. Conditional use permit 25-051. Owner WTTC Land Management Company LLC, part of Government Lot 1 of Section 33, Township 40 North, Range 9 West, Tax ID 3939 and Tax ID 3913. It is a total of 52.39 total acres zoned to agricultural 1. Permit is desired for the 5-year renewal of conditional use permit 21-023 for the location and operation of a non-metallic mineral extraction operation, including rock crusher and a newly added temporary hot mix and asphalt plant. The conditional use permit was originally approved on May 19th of 1995, most recently renewed October 15th of 2021. For the non-metallic mineral extraction and rock crusher, the addition of the temporary hot mix plant is new for this CUP application. Additional information is included in the attached non-metallic mining operation plan and public hearing checklist. This is known as the Skilly Pit as part of the staff report. Again, this is for a 5-year renewal. It is ultimately subject as an early renewal. With the early renewal, the applicant is requesting the addition of the temporary hot mix asphalt plant. The property is approximately 52.4 total acres owned agricultural 1. Per the plan of operation, the pit area is approximately 35 acres in size with the existing open active acres of 17. Per the amended plan of operation, the applicant is also seeking to increase their allowed number of acres from 35 acres to 35 acres to 38.7 acres. This would require an amendment and an update to the reclamation plan, but final post-mining activities would not be changed. The conditional use permit renewal is requested as an early renewal, again, as to add the temporary hot mix plant as part of the plan of operation. In conversations with the applicant, this pit is seeking bids with larger highway projects as the asphalt plant would be needed as part of these proposed projects. The existing use in the area is 2 other gravel pits, woodland area, and mixed residential. The nearest residence is approximately 250 feet away, but the owner and operator of this pit does have a written agreement from the nearest residence that would allow crushing to be closer than 1,000 feet. As stated per the Sawyer County Code of Ordinances, Appendix D, Section 6.23, Parent 3, Parent D. The property owner on the property of which the residence is located provides a written notarized agreement to the zoning office stating that the property owner has waived those setback requirements. We do not have any complaints on file for this conditional use permit gravel pit. The current normal hours of operation are 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. Monday through Friday, no holidays. Crushing operations are specified as 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. Monday through Friday, with extended hours of 6 a.m. to 9 p.m., not to exceed 3 weeks per year. The proposed asphalt plant hours are to be 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. Monday through Saturday, not to exceed 16 weeks per year. The financial assurance has been received in the amount of $30,000 in the form of a bond. Keeping in mind, and I think it is very important to keep in mind with any of these types of conditional use permits, I generally don't read this information, but I think this one is certainly pertinent to the information at hand. But the aspects of a conditional use permit. Substantial evidence means facts and information other than merely personal preferences or speculation directly pertaining to the requirements and the conditions an applicant must meet in order to obtain a conditional use permit, and that a reasonable person would accept in support of a conclusion. If an applicant agrees to meet all the requirements and conditions specified in a county ordinance or those imposed by the county zoning board, the county shall grant the conditional use permit. Any condition imposed must be related to the purpose of the ordinance and are based on substantial evidence. The conditions must be reasonable and to the extent practicable and measurable. The applicant must demonstrate that the application and all requirements and conditions established by the county relating to the conditional use are or shall be satisfied, both of which be supported by substantial evidence. The county's decision to approve or deny the permit must be supported by substantial evidence. As a list of potential conditions included in my staff report, it'd be to maintain compliance of NR 135, maintain compliance with the plan of operation, including specified hours of operation for normal use crushing hours and proposed asphalt plant hours, maintain compliance with Chapter 30 permits. All other town, county, state, and federal laws are followed. The conditional use permit goes with the property. If the property is to change hands before the next renewal, the owner must complete a non-metallic mining transfer form with Sawyer County to acknowledge the compliance of the current plan of operation, conditions, and reclamation plan. By action of the town board, motion was approved. Justin Hall, Chairman, Marshall Savitsky, Supervisor, Dave Albrot, Supervisor, Jim Evans, Supervisor, Don Adams, Supervisor. Granting the conditional use would not be contrary to public interest and would be in compliance with the spirit and intent of the Sawyer County zoning ordinance because it would not be damaging to the rights or others of property values. It would be compatible with the surrounding uses of the area. It would not create an objectionable view as it cannot be viewed from County Highway K. This is signed Tammy Brown, Town Clerk. There were 7 additional notification letters sent out to adjacent property owners within 300 feet. Since that time, the zoning department has received 51 additional letters in opposition, specifically related to the proposed asphalt plant operation as part of this conditional use permit. Those letters of opposition up until yesterday at 4 p.m. were all sent to the committee members. Majority of those responses were now, again, 51 is the number as of yesterday afternoon at 4 p.m. I do believe there's another 4 or 5 that came in overnight and this morning that we weren't able to get printed off and included within this. But again, the majority of those responses reference the following. That the individuals have objections to the inclusion of a hot mix asphalt plant in that it would affect air quality impacts. Asphalt plants emit VOCs and particulate matter. Noise pollution is disrupting to the peaceful residential area. Heavy truck traffic on our roads, negative impact on property values, and change to our community's recreational character. There were additional letters of opposition that went into additional detail. Again, those letters were submitted to the committee ahead of this meeting. Did the committee have a chance to review those additional letters that were sent to them?
I read all.
I read them all.
I read them.
Me too.
Let the record reflect that the committee has acknowledged reading those letters of opposition and therefore be incorporated into the record. That is all.
All right, thank you, Jay. I need a motion to go into a public hearing on CUP number 25-051, please.
So,
We have a motion by Mr. Schuman. Do I have a second?
Second.
second,
And a second by Mr. Kariainen to go into public hearing on CUP number 25-051. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Opposed? Motion carries. We are now in public hearing on CUP number 25-051. Is the applicant here? You want to step forward and talk to the committee, please? State your
Hey,
name.
Barb, I'm in a meeting right now. Can I call you back? Okay, thank you.
Oh, it's okay.
Okay,
Go ahead,
thanks.
sir.
Jeff Johnson, 216 East Randall Road, Fall Creek, Wisconsin. Representative for WTTC Land Management. I'm a Northern Environmental Wisconsin manager for Milestone Materials and other divisions of Matthew Construction. I have with me others, Tom, division manager with Monarch Paving, Tristan, who I'll let introduce himself when he comes up here, and Matt, who's an area manager with Milestone Materials. I'm going to ask that Tristan begin with some presentation materials first, and then I will follow up with some environmental information. If that's all right.
Yep.
Good morning. Tristan Gardner. I can be reached at 920 10th Avenue North, Onalaska, Wisconsin. So I work for Matthew Construction, who is the parent company for WTTC, Milestone Materials, and Monarch Paving. First off, I want to thank you for reviewing the application materials. You did an awesome job. I really don't have any addition to the actual materials themselves. Instead, what I'd like to do is shed some insight on our intentions from a higher level with the application that's in front of you and what we're planning to do in the future. And I'd like to do that by talking a little bit about how we do the work that we do, a brief history of the Skilly Pit, and a little bit directly about the application itself and why we applied the way that we applied. So, heavy highway construction everywhere, but especially in the Midwest, is cyclical. And what I mean by that is we don't obviously rebuild the same roads every year. We have to go where the work is. So because of that, as a business, we have mobile plants that are literally on wheels, asphalt plants and crushing plants, that we move into sites that are near to jobs that we've been awarded through a bidding process. We set up, we produce the products that we've agreed to produce. We go out and do the paving and grading work that we've agreed to do. And then at the end, we pack everything up and we move to the next site. We do this dozens of times a year all over the Midwest. This cycle that I'm describing can be seen in the history of the Skilly Pit. As was mentioned, in 1995, we got a CUP to produce aggregates on site. We've been doing so on an ongoing basis ever since. In 2004, we were granted a temporary asphalt plant permit to come in and accomplish some work that was in the area. We were again awarded a temporary permit in 2007, and that carried into 2008. Well, here we are, roughly 20 years in the future, and the cycle is repeating itself. So what we see coming down the line in the next 3 to 5 years is a small number of large individual jobs DOT is going to be letting. So we're aware, at least currently, that 2028, 2030, and 2031, there are going to be jobs let by the DOT that we are obviously going to bid and we hope to be awarded. You guys are aware of how this works. I lay it out specifically and explicitly because I understand that if you're an outsider looking in at our business, it's easy to feel apprehension when you see words like temporary or you hear amounts of time be discussed. That apprehension is typically that it's going to lead to bigger things, that there's going to be a gateway into larger production or a permanent plant eventually. And I just want to directly dispel those concerns. That is not the intention with this application. What we are attempting to do is have the flexibility to accomplish upcoming work much in the same way that we have in the past. And we don't intend for any larger scale production to be coming out of the Skilly Pit. So this is just a cycle that we're in on an ongoing basis. It's the reality of road maintenance. So I wanted to kind of address that directly. This all leads me nicely into why we've specifically applied the way that we have applied. An understandable question would be why not use temporary permits like we have in the past? The reason that we're attempting to have a temporary component of the ongoing CUP that we have is the simple reality of the volatility of the bidding market. It is a known fact that the DOT will periodically yank jobs at the last minute or add jobs back to the bidding schedule. And it has happened in the past where we've had jobs that are bid very close to when they're meant to be completed. This can make it almost impossible to go through the process of obtaining those temporary permits. So what we're seeking is the flexibility to be able to do those jobs as they come up, much in the way that we have in the past, but with that built into our current CUP. That's why we mentioned the 16-week window. I just want to come right out and say to the committee, we encourage you to go ahead and create that as a condition, as a way to reassure our neighbors and the folks that you all work for, that we really do mean what we say when we're asking for 16 weeks. We put our heads together. That is kind of the bare minimum that we're going to need. What we could have done is asked for the entire construction season. For example, we could have said, March 1st through November 15th, something like that. That's way more than what we realistically need. And we have no intention of scaring anybody. So that 16-week working window, we encourage you to use it as a condition. And we don't intend to abuse it or go beyond that. And that is our intention with this application. I really appreciate your time and attention this morning. I'm going to have Jeff come back up and briefly talk about a couple of the environmental pieces. If you have questions, as folks come up and talk, I just want to offer myself up. I'm more than happy to come back up and answer, specific items that arise.
I have one question for
Yes,
you.
sir.
You say that the DOT often throws out, they want bids, say, right away. There's no warning when these bids are going to be thrown out there. You know what I'm trying to get at?
I do. It would be unfair to say that there's no warning. The DOT does a decent job of forecasting what they expect to bid. However, as the state budget fluctuates on a year-to-year basis, it isn't unusual for them to retract jobs back off of the bidding schedule or add them sort of last minute. And when I say last minute, I mean within months. So the typical schedule is for them to bid out work in the fall and begin working that work in the spring and summer of the coming year. It's not unusual for a job to pop up in the fall and for them to expect it to start immediately that coming spring.
I have a question
Go ahead,
for
Mr.
Jay. Jay, what is the process for a temporary permit that they've gotten in the past?
Be
Does
included
that go
as,
through this committee?
yeah, it would be as part of their application for conditional use permit. It's an element to the aspects of non-metallic mining. So non-metallic mining is as a whole, which is allowed in the agricultural zone districts, the commercial zone districts, as well as the forestry zone districts. That umbrella of non-metallic mining then has other components to it, such as washing, screening, such as rock crushing, such as hot mix plants or asphalt plants, but they all fall under the umbrella of non-metallic mining. So it's a request within the conditional use permit.
Got it. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Thanks, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay, good morning, Jeff Johnson again. I did want to touch on some environmental information, but as Jay stated, just to start off, this temporary, and I'm going to focus on the asphalt plant operation since that's relatively new to this application. The asphalt plant would be located in an agricultural district, which is allowed under the zoning ordinance for or within non-metallic mining extraction operations and within a conditional use permit. As we mentioned, the asphalt plant operations would not be permanent. This is a temporary portable operation, would come in for a project timeline and then move out. Regarding some environmental matters, I want to start off with air pollution. I just wanted to let you know, I began my career with Wisconsin DNR back in 2000. I worked 14 years there in the air management program. Very familiar with this information. The hot mix asphalt plant is covered by an air pollution control permit. This is just one example. As Tristan mentioned, we have a fleet of these plants. This is one of the permits for one of those plants. The DNR regulates these emissions from these plants, including emission limitations, monitoring, and testing requirements. Air pollutants do include particulate matter, volatile organic compounds, sulfur dioxide, and hazardous air pollutants. All have standards that are set by the Wisconsin DNR or the EPA. Let it be known that the Wisconsin DNR regulates over 500 classified hazardous air pollutants, whereas the EPA regulates 188. The permit limits and standards are set to protect air quality and public health. The purpose of those regulations and permit standards are to ensure that emissions generated by the facility are at safe levels for the environment and public health. The permit is a conclusion by the department that those emissions are at levels that are protective of public health. And the protection of public health considers the most sensitive individuals, your young, elderly, asthmatics, or others with respiratory issues. And therefore, the remainder of the general public would also be covered. I want to provide some perspective on the limitations within the permit, and we talk about temporary operations. The permit does allow for up to 750,000 tons of production per year from that plant. As comparison, typical DOT project might be around 36,000 tons. We're operating at around half the limit per month, or about 5% of the annual production limit. All the emissions would be well below those that are estimated by the permit review of the DNR. The plant does utilize air pollution control technologies and equipment, including a bag house. Emission testing is required by regulation. It's usually done every 2, 3, or 4 years, depending on the results. This is a result of the last emission test that was conducted back in May of 2023. Those results showed that the emission rates from that plant were only at 5% of the federal standard. So not only are the production tonnages well below the limitations of the permit, but in conjunction with the emission rates even tested, the emission impacts to the public health would be very small, within standards and in compliance. On the matter of odors, all of our plants utilize a deodorant within the raw materials to minimize odors during production. In regards to fugitive dust from equipment or operation, that is also regulated under Chapter NR 415, Wisconsin Administrative Code. There is no law that requires zero emissions or zero visible emissions. The intent of these permits and regulations is to allow industrial sources to have emissions, but done so in a way when complying with those standards would be, again, protective of public health. Touching on water quality and protection, our site activities comply with Wisconsin's pollutant discharge elimination system general permits issued by the DNR. These permits are designed to maintain groundwater quality within the standards of Chapter NR 140 Wisconsin Administrative Code. We implement a stormwater pollution prevention plan. I have the document here. Again, this is just one example for our plants. They specify best management practices and monitoring requirements for our facilities. Complying with those standards and best practices assures and establishes protection of our water quality and resources, including groundwater. Regarding noise impacts, our company has done studies of noise at asphalt plants. This is a copy of a noise study done at one of our plants. Just to give some numbers, sound levels are in the range of around 50 to 60 at 400 feet from the center of the operation. And it indicated that between 300 and 400 feet from this center, it averages the sound pressure levels of what would be a normal conversation level. Of course, as the distance from that operation increases, the sound level is going to decrease. For those just over a half mile away, that sound level is going to be reduced to about 30 to 40 dBA range, which is a quiet whisper or small town residence. The operation of a hot mix asphalt plant may be well heard beyond the site of where the plant is, not because it's generating a loud, disruptive noise, but because it's just a different sound from the normal background. Please understand I don't bring these up in an attempt to dismiss any concerns by our neighbors and the community. We appreciate those comments, and we look forward to doing our job better, safer, more efficient, and with minimal environmental impact. So in summary, the conditional use permit does conform to the county zoning ordinance and other applicable laws. Operations are in compliance with regulatory permits and standards, those set to protect the environment and public health. And without any other substantial evidence to the contrary, we would request the committee approve this application. We're happy to answer any other questions. Thank you.
I have one. When you do them tests on your plants, are all your plants testing the same, or are you doing this in just one plant?
Every single plant that has a permit must be tested, and it's done by a third-party independent party.
Okay, thank you. Anybody have any questions?
Regarding your previous operations at this pit, there have been, what, a couple occasions when you've operated asphalt plants in this permit? Is that what I understood?
That's correct.
Okay. Did you have issues or did you hear outcry from neighbors regarding your operations at that time?
So it was before my time with the company. There are others here who might know.
Generally, with Monarch Paving.
So you want to answer his question, you want to step up to the mic so everybody can hear you, sir?
Tom Gagnon, Monarch Paving, division manager. Up until this summer, I was the main contact for the Sawyer County area for 12 years. To speak on complaints during the asphalt plant being at a site, generally we see the most of it at this process here, the initial outcry of concerns. During the process, we are more than welcome to schedule site tours there. We've done it at multiple other sites. I believe Kay has been to our Marotech plant site multiple times to show people around exactly what our operation is. We can mail out a letter to the neighbors, or we can provide it to the township to organize a meeting of concern, and we can do an on-site tour while the plant is running to discuss any concerns or show people exactly how it functions. Usually when we're in operation, our biggest complaint is in the late fall of the year. As the weather changes, you may see more water vapor coming out of the stack, and it gets misinterpreted as smoke. It's just hot water vapor from drying the aggregate through the asphalt plant. So that is usually one of the main concerns that we get.
As far as odor goes, you mentioned you use a deodorizer. Is that something you've used in previous times?
It is
Operating there?
company policy that every liquid ton of asphalt cement is treated with a deodorizer, which chemically bonds to the oil and neutralizes the odor.
Okay, and you've been doing that for many years already?
Yep.
Okay. Mhm. Right. Okay, thank you.
I know, I live in the town of Meadowbrook, and I know Monarch has had their plant down in the Thompson pit down there numerous times, and I've viewed and watched. And all my time that I there and was watching, I never smelt anything when you guys were making blacktop, but I just want to say that. But I've viewed you guys crush or doing the hot mix plant in that pit before, so throwing that out.
Chairman, I got a question.
Go ahead, Mr. Schuman.
Sir, so your asphalt plant, is that gonna sit in generally the same location as you've had it in the past? I know there's 55 acres there, so
Yep.
you move it around.
I do have that map up on the screen right now. I don't know if you can see, there's a yellow circle area kind of in the southwest corner of the open pit area. That is where the proposed asphalt plant would be located. So somewhat centrally located, I guess east to west, but towards the south line of the property, which again would abut another existing non-metallic mining operation.
Yep. And just to touch on that, that would be currently where we would put it. Portable asphalt plants, we generally try and chase material in the pit.
Yeah.
So as the pit changes over the years and opens up more floor, in the next couple years, there would probably be enough room on the lower level that the plant would actually end up going and sitting down in the lower level of the pit instead of up top. It's just currently there's not enough geographic open area.
Do you have an anticipated expansion area of this pit?
So currently we are crushing to the west through there. As we open it up, the driveway would end up switching down into the hole and the plant would sit down in the hole. I don't believe we can go much more to the northeast there. So the general premise is going to be going to the west.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? All right, thank you. So any other one of you guys want to speak, or you told us everything that you wanted us to know? Okay.
I would ask if anyone else is in support though still too.
What?
I would ask if anyone else is still in support of this request.
Okay. All right, is there anyone else that wants to speak in support of this CUP?
Not seeing any hands raised online.
All right, I see there's quite a few that want to speak in opposition of this CUP, so we're gonna call out the names.
So this one states, I do not wish to speak, but registering against conditional use permit for the asphalt hot mix plant. This is Daniel Shannon. I wish to speak in opposition, Tracy Yackel.
Hi, my name is Tracy Yackel. I don't like speaking in public. This permit dates back to 1995, and the community has changed drastically since then. The current operation already causes severe industrial noise and travels across the surrounding lakes and residences. I do want to say that if you've not heard complaints, it's because we're nice and we know that it's there and we don't complain. We're good, nice neighbors. Adding an asphalt plant will bring tar odors, diesel fumes, and VOC emissions, which lakes trap and hold. And their time that they're saying they're going to run it, whatever time it is, it's going to linger, leaving our summer smelling tar. We're already hearing the pounding noise. We just don't say anything because we're nice. And the town of Bass Lake, when they glossed over this, it was very fast. There was something else going on. I saw those gentlemen there. They were probably super happy that nobody said anything because the meeting went very quickly because there was other pressing agenda items. So that's why this is happening today. A1 zoning requires compatibility with residential and rural character. This fails that requirement, and it's beyond me why this is still zoned agriculture. This harms property values, recreation, tourism, and community health. And it's not just recreation, it's outdoor recreation. So I don't know what those studies are, but when we live in a place that we're primarily outside all the time, it's affected. And you do hear it inside and smell it. You'd have to close all your windows. It would just be unpleasant. And who knows what's in the deodorizers. The owners do not live here. The burden falls entirely on the residents. They're from Onalaska, they're from La Crosse, and they have their plants everywhere. They're in it here for money. So I think they're taking advantage of us and Sawyer County. Highway K is my exit to anywhere I go. The gravel debris has cracked my windshield several times, and it's not cheap to replace those. You can go outside. I have 2 vehicles outside, and they both have cracks, chips, and it's just, what's the point of getting a new one? It's just gonna get some gravel kicked back up in my windshield. I homeschool, and before that, worked primarily from home as a real estate agent. The pounding from the plant can't only be heard, but it is also felt. I respectfully request that you deny the asphalt plant and do not renew the 1995 crushing permit for the asphalt plant.
Thank you.
Next, wishing to speak in opposition, I have Mark Rosen.
Yep, Mark Rosen. Thank you. I live at 7774 North Thunder Point Road, which is about a half a mile on Lake 27 from the rock crushing plant. Currently, we can hear the rock crushing plant and the operations. It's not overpowering at this point for us to bear the noise. The thing that I'd like to just not necessarily ask a question, but I'd like to point out of when they talk about the noise levels, the decibels of the asphalt plant, is that taken into consideration the rock crushing plant at the same time, the two operating? What does that do, the noise levels of it? We also didn't talk about noise levels of the additional dump trucks, the trucks, diesel trucks that are driving in there, the downshifting to slow down and that type of situation and stuff. It's just additional noise and the impact. I'd also like to point out there were a few years back, approximately 500 feet, there was a homeowner that wanted to put a facility, a building up to maintain his logging equipment. And the town of Bass Lake turned that down for the reasons that we're speaking here today. Industrialization, noise, all those types of factors came in, and that permit was turned down a few years ago from a homeowner. I am against the asphalt portion of this CUP. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Next, I have Diane Pearson. And I also have Mike Pearson, if you want to relation, want to go together there or not, but the next two are both of you.
Oh, supposed to be on the same side.
I have to share, there was another hearing many, many years ago, and it had to do with a bridge. And my husband presented the signatures. And then when I went to speak, Jack Town said, "Oh, we don't need to hear from you, Deanna. We already heard from your husband." I went, all right.
Well, you got the mic now. Sorry.
Okay. We weren't aware of the plans or the proposal for the asphalt mixing plant until this week. And so I took some time to do some research to find out what it was and what the thoughts were in terms of other communities that have an asphalt mixing plant. And two words kept coming up: odor and carcinogenic. They were in everything that I read. My father worked for Standard Oil in a refinery. My father had 6 forms of cancer that were all traced back to that type of environment, the carcinogenic output. In terms of smell, who wants to smell it? Each of the pieces that I read used the word odor. So deodorant may have a different odor. I don't know. But that's not something we want within our environment. We too listen to the rock crusher. And like Tracy said, well, I guess we're good neighbors. They aren't going to call and say you can't do it. It's been there since 1995. And that neighborhood isn't what it was in 1995. There's houses along Stone Hill Road. New houses are being built. I imagine that most of the houses weren't there in 1995. I know that next to us, there are now 5 houses being built. And their realtor isn't going to say, and you know what you get with this? An asphalt mixing plant. They're not going to say that. It's an unpleasant element. So I ask, because of health and because of the environment, that we deny this permit. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Mike Pearson.
So my wife and I, Deanna, live on Stookie Bay, and I think we're probably about 3/4 of a mile away. I'm not sure. But the noise level as described by these gentlemen is greater than how it was described. So on a summer day, if I'm outside in my yard, I can clearly hear the rock crusher. If I'm inside and my windows are open, I can clearly hear the rock crusher. I grew up in Chicago, surrounded by noise, and when I came here, I did not expect to have noise follow me. Appreciating that these gentlemen probably do a good job and we need roads built and my driveway, the location for that facility is just not a good one. There's too many people around it that are impacted by it. And the fact that you got 50 comments makes me think there are more homeowners in that area than I realized. Because I didn't, looking at, across the lake and towards the north, I maybe guessed 20, 25, but it sounds like there's way more people in that. So this is no longer a good location for this kind of operation. It's impacting too many people in a negative way. Thanks.
Thank you, sir.
Next I have Thomas Gagnon.
I think they already spoke.
Oh, yeah, speaking in favor. Jeff, speaking in favor, speaking in favor. Yep. Anyone else wishing to make objections to the proposed conditional use permit?
All right, ma'am, go ahead. Yes. State your name and address, please.
No, I think I probably have to push this down.
Yeah, you pushed her down, ma'am. You can hang on.
My name is Hazel John Jack. My current address is 10855A Havenwood Lane in Hayward. I was born in 1944 in a house by Durfee Lake. At the time I was born, my mother sent my older brother and sister over to Mullally Hill. Those of you who are familiar with that area know that our neighbor then was kind enough to take someone in when their mother was having a baby in the house. From living on our Cranberry Marsh, my young adulthood, I went 2 years to East Harlem as a VISTA volunteer and was suddenly surrounded by concrete and pavement, and where everything was put down is not as important as progress in quotations. I had to come away from there. I had to be near trees and soil and a community of people. I went to school at Boylan School, which is very near to where this non-metallic mining is. I brought with me our Boylan School memories, which included how much it meant to have real soil, real trees, plants, animals around us. Miss Olga Simonson, who was a teacher from Wendigo Lake, talks about the little kids not wanting the big kids to come out yet because there was a snake that needed to be rescued from the window pit. Our education of our children is dependent on our surroundings, outdoors as it is indoors. And when I was forced to go to Hayward schools, when Boylan School no longer could have 8th graders, it was a terrible loss to not be playing on the earth, to be on pavement or cement or something inside the building. I was here 30 years ago, about 30 years, it is exactly 30 years ago, when Mr. Vaughn Skilly did the same thing that he has done this time. I think I was the nearest neighbor. I lived at what we call Commons House, had previously been the Landgraf House, and we still have some Landgraf descendants here at the meeting. Vaughn Skilly said the nearest neighbor did not object. And I was sure that I was the nearest neighbor living at what had been the Commons House. And then it turned out, after the vote had been taken, the person who said they were the nearest neighbor were employees of Vaughn Skilly. So, and again, I'm sure that when he says the nearest neighbor does not mind, he's speaking of himself as the person who now lives in Mullally Hill. So anyway, that wasn't honest or straightforward. And especially that hurt because his mother had been our neighbor, our friend. And to have somebody that wasn't acting neighborly was sad. So anyway, I'm wearing a dress, and especially Tweed will know that the Mindamuye, the old women of the neighborhood, are supposed to speak for all of the people, human and other beings. Not just for the young. I'm so disappointed in the Bass Lake Town people. I mean, the town board to say, okay, fast asphalt is more important than the growing of young people, of plants. When I was able to watch a baby on our cranberry marsh this harvest, it was so great to be able to take her on the cranberry dikes and near Durfee Lake, where she is getting the emanations from healthy earth, not the toxicities that come with our modern love of cars and petroleum.
Ma'am, can we kind of?
Okay, I'll shut up, but I do want to read a short thing that came from, just came out in the Mazanagan. And the title of it is, What is Bioaccumulation, or How Much Air Does a Seed Need to Grow into a Tree? And it talks about accumulation of toxins and toxicants from our environment. And they are bioconcentration, bioaccumulation, and biomagnification. So if somebody would like to hear an alternative understanding of how much these asphalt emanations will affect, they can go to the Masanagan. I do have copies of the Boylan School thing, which once was the heart of our neighborhood. I hope our neighborhood still has a heart.
Thank you, ma'am.
Oh.
Yes, go ahead, ma'am.
I'm Barb Pevich. I live on Tamarack Trail on Wendigo. And first of all, I hate to bash my town, but Bass Lake is notoriously poor at publishing agendas ahead of time. They don't publish minutes. You can go on the website where it says agendas and minutes, and it's actually blank. So the fact that this, I did a little searching as I'm sitting here, and I see it was on the November 6th agenda, and it was discussed at that meeting. But the ability of any of us to actually speak up and try to impact that for Bass Lake was minimal in this case. So sorry to bash them, but that's true. The fact that these gentlemen say that their intent is to not have an impact on the community is noble, but it's not about intent, it's about impact. And I will tell you that the existing rock crushing operation, we can hear in the northeast corner of Wendigo, which is a couple miles away, and we hear it on a regular basis. I live by the boat launch. We can actively hear it. It's hearable above the birds and along with everything. And I just want to say that Sawyer County has been a county that has been all about protecting our environmental resources and protecting our lakes, protecting our wetlands. If we want to build things, there's very strict guidelines on that. And think about, that Sawyer County created a wilderness lake classification a decade ago, and I know that that no longer exists because of state of Wisconsin laws. But this is not the type of county that would have this type of operation this close to people's lake property, the wetlands, the lakes, and it's inconsistent with that. And I don't think that I don't think they should be allowed to expand the gravel operation because it's already a nuisance and impacting our enjoyment of our properties. And I certainly don't think they should be able to add an asphalt plant. And they can give all the studies they want, but we all know that there's going to be issues with it and there's going to be a lot of noise that's going to affect property values and our enjoyment of our properties. So I urge you to deny this permit. I think, there's many property owners on Wendigo that have owned well before 1995, and I just wonder how it got approved even at that point in time. When you think about people's enjoyment and how important the recreational and environmental and our natural lakes are so important to people in Sawyer County, this type of operation does not belong in this proximity to the lakes and the property owners. So thank you for listening, but I hope that you deny the whole thing and reevaluate whether or not you would even let them continue the existing
They got
operation.
51 letters in opposition.
Good.
Hey, anyone else want to speak in opposition?
Hi, this is Matt McBride. I would like to speak in opposition quick.
We're gonna go through everyone here that's in person, and then I'll go to those that are online. Thank you, Matt.
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you.
Good morning, Linda Zilmer, descendant of people from the town of Bass Lake and teachers at the Boylan School, a resident of the village Birchwood, and I've been attending these zoning committee hearings for 20 years now. Even some of the members of this committee have realized that the gravel pits in that area have become an ongoing issue because there has been so much more residential development there. At this time of the year, some of the people that probably would be speaking in person are probably gone for the season, but you've heard from them in the past. With regard to substantial evidence in following ordinances and all the applicable laws, I have to wonder why, as mentioned, that there is also a request for an expansion of the acreage, why this committee is not seeing a new reclamation plan and approving the reclamation plan before addressing expansion of the acreage for the conditional use permit and adding the asphalt plant. I kind of suspect maybe in the past when these temporary permits for asphalt plants were approved, and I don't believe that that process was adequately explained in answer to Mr. Schumann's question, is that it probably anticipated that this was a developing area, and rather than putting it in as a permanent part of the conditional use permit, it was only for that time, because now this is the opportunity to say that this area is so developed that it probably is not the appropriate place for an asphalt plant. Yes, we all need roads, we need driveways, we need those things, but the asphalt plant is no longer appropriate there. So I have to wonder why, with the experience of Milestone, Matthew, and all the other named entities, why they have not given you a reclamation plan, or if there is one, I don't think the zoning committee members online can see that, and it's not online for the public to see. I don't think you have the information to be able to approve either the expansion or the asphalt plant. I'm not sure if I recognize any of the gentlemen here, but Washburn County right now is engaged in a court case that is played out because the same companies came to apply for a conditional use permit for a new gravel pit, and they had not submitted a reclamation plan, which is clearly part of that county's ordinance. So that's being litigated. And I would think that if Sawyer County is following its ordinances and what's required by NR 135, you would require seeing a new reclamation plan before you made any decision. And it is definitely, I think, enough substantial evidence to not approve an asphalt plant. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, anyone else want to speak in opposition? Go ahead, ma'am, state your name, address, please. Got to come up to the mic.
My name is Marilyn Conkler. I'm 7984 North Timber Lane on Wendigo. I won't, there's so much repeat, but I am not in favor of this, and I hope you are not in favor of it. And I just have one question. Would you want to have this asphalt plant near you? Thank you.
Thanks, ma'am. Anyone else want to speak in opposition?
I'll go with the hands raised online. First, I had an Erica, although did Erica just disappear?
Oh, I'm still here. Thank you.
Okay.
I'm Erica Yakldile, so not born, but raised in Hayward, and I currently own, with my husband, a cabin on Durfee Lake. So we're someone who spends a lot of time up here, up there with my family, and so I'm asking you to deny this conditional use permit for adding the hot mix asphalt plant to the existing rock crushing plant. You know, I'm grateful that I get to recreate and spend time in a place that has clean air and beautiful lakes, and this proposed plant kind of threatens all of that. It will produce strong odors and fumes that can travel, well beyond the site. And it's kind of hard to imagine enjoying time on the lake, sitting around a fire or even opening the windows of the cabin and having the smell of asphalt kind of drifting through there. It's not what the experienced people come there for, and it certainly isn't what homeowners should have to deal with. Also the concerns for the lake itself, people have mentioned that already, and again, Sawyer County has worked hard to preserve the natural character of our area. And once that's damaged, you just can't get that back. So I understand the need for development, but this is simply the wrong place for an asphalt plant. And the risks to the environment, property values, and everyday experience of residents and visitors are too high. So please protect the lakes, the air, the quality of life that make it a very special place by rejecting this permit. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Next, I'll go with Matt McBride.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. My name is Matt McBride, and I recently purchased a home located at 15715 West Gossens Road, which I believe, based on my communications this week, is somewhere between 1,500 and 2,000 feet of the proposed temporary asphalt plant. Now, I only closed on this property at the end of July, so I am fully aware of the fact that I'm the new guy here, and I certainly don't want to rub anyone the wrong way by saying a few words in opposition to that portion of the CUP that concerns the asphalt plant. When I purchased the property, I was fully aware of the gravel pits, so I certainly have no right to object to the renewal of the CUP as it pertains to the mineral extraction operation. But the addition of a temporary hot mix asphalt plant, essentially a par 5 from my house, is a whole nother matter, given the obvious noise and more significantly the odor that goes hand in hand with such an operation. When I think it was Jay was talking about what the evidence needs to be to issue a conditional use permit, he mentioned that there has to be substantial evidence. And I don't believe that the applicant here has met the substantial evidence threshold with respect to at least 3 of the findings of fact that I think are required for this committee to approve the conditional use permit. With respect to finding number 3, protecting the property values and the property tax base, there is no substantial evidence in the record that the applicant can or will protect property values and the property tax base from the impacts of operating a temporary asphalt plant at the property. When you read the materials, the applicant relies on, quote, natural vegetative screening, close quote, and, quote, the latest technology, close quote, as the basis for its claim that will keep noise under control. And it relies on the fact that it controls odor by referencing a product called EcoSorb. That is not the type of substantial evidence that I believe is required for them to meet their burden of proof in these proceedings. To satisfy their showing substantial evidence that this plant will not reduce surrounding property values in the tax base because of noise and odor, I believe the applicant should have submitted an environmental impact study with respect to this property, referring to other environmental studies they've done and other testing they've done in other locations does not meet their substantial evidence burden, in my humble opinion. And moreover, and anecdotally, excuse me, given that I just purchased the house, when I learned of this potential asphalt plant, I contacted my realtor, Ty Wiley, who some of you may know, and asked him what he thought about the impact on resale value. And he responded to me and said, there will definitely be an impact on resale value because a lot of potential buyers will be driven away from purchasing a property located that close to an asphalt plant. So I realize that's anecdotal evidence, but I certainly think it calls into question whether the applicant here has met its substantial evidence burden of proving that there will not be property value impacts. Now, I guess the final point, because I don't want to repeat a lot of things that others have said, but in addition to the fact that I don't think the applicant has met its requirement to prove all these things by substantial evidence, I think it's important to talk about what's really going on here. So the real reason I'm a capitalist, but the real reason they want the asphalt plant at this location is money. It's going to be cheaper for them, and they'll make more profit on their road construction projects by being able to produce the asphalt there, as opposed to trucking the materials to a location that is more suitable for the asphalt plant. So an important issue that I would ask the committee to consider when it's determining whether to issue this conditional use permit is what's more important, the convenience of the applicant and the road contractor, or the inconvenience of the neighboring residents? And to state it another way, is it more important to the committee that the applicant's projects are more profitable, or is it more important to the committee to maintain the property values and tax base, quality of life of the surrounding residents, and the general welfare of the committee? And I respectfully suggest that the answer to that is obvious, and would respectfully request that the conditional use permit be denied as it pertains to the asphalt plant. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Anyone else online wishing to speak in opposition?
I have a question for you. My name's John. I live just off of K in Highline Road. Has anyone done a traffic study to see how much more trucks will be coming in and out of there and using K? And with the asphalt being loaded in the trucks being traveled up and down K, wouldn't that cause more of a health risk as well?
Generally, we can't answer, public comments, but I think, your comments that you just made might be something that we would re-ask the applicant at that point.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks. And sorry, John, what was your last name for the record?
Tyke, T-Y-K.
Thank you. Anyone else online wishing to make public comments in opposition?
Yes, I'm Natasha. Will make a public statement. I am Natasha.
Yep, go ahead, Natasha.
Okay, I'm Natasha Coleman. I am at 7583 North White Beach Road on Schoolhouse Lake. And this had just came to my attention last week. Not much notice to prepare a statement, but I'm on an agreement with Erica Dial in regards to the environment and the recreational use of the properties that we are using for right now. But also to keep a note that the property of the asphalt plant that is being proposed is also located between two restaurants, which is Trails Ways and English Stevens. And the amount of smells and possibly disruption in their food processing would have a significant impact on those restaurants as well, potentially spoiling their food and their prep and their bread and their food. So I wanted you to also keep in mind with the resorts that are around the area as well for tourist activities, as well as your recreational use, snowmobiling and whatnot, that this would also have an impact on your recreational use as well, as long as this would be going through years. So just keep in mind, it's not just the neighbors. Yes, I'm a neighbor as well, but you're also impacting a whole bunch of other things, such as restaurants and recreational uses, especially if there's going to be more heavy traffic coming in and out of there with trucks up and down the roads. We just want to be aware that having an asphalt plant would be a huge inconvenience and possibly would end up being a terrible thing in our community in this area, Bass Lake Township. That's all I wanted to say. I just wanted to point that out as well.
Thank you.
Anyone else online wishing to make public comments in opposition? Seeing no hands raised.
Okay.
Would you like to, before we go out of public hearing, re-ask the applicant to
that's
see if
just
they
what I
want
was
to
gonna do. Would somebody like to reply to what the gentleman said on truck traffic?
Again, Tristan Gardner. I think the specific question was there a traffic study completed? So to answer that directly, no, there was not a traffic study completed. I think it's noteworthy, though, that where the pit is situated, the majority of the truck traffic would go immediately to the west and out to 27. And as far as some of the concerns that were raised about truck traffic sort of coming through town, it's important to note that if we can't, or I shouldn't say we, if any operator who earns work in the area can't set a plant there, it is likely going to come from a different source and therefore have to come through town across County K and out to 27.
Okay, any other information you'd like to provide to the committee?
I don't think so. We appreciate your time.
Okay, thank you. All right. We have no more comments. I need a motion to come out of public hearing on CUP number 25-051, please.
I'll make a motion to that effect.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Magnuson, a second by Ms. Wilson to come out of public hearing on CUP number 25-051. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? None. We are now out of public hearing.
This is the discussion action, Town of Bass Lake conditional use permit number 25-051, owner WTTC Land Management Company, LLC. Legal description is previously read into record. This permit is desired for the 5-year renewal of conditional use permit number 21-023 for the location operation of a non-metallic mineral extraction operation, including rock crusher and temporary hot mix asphalt plant. Taking in mind for any motions that would be made, a list of potential conditions is listed in my staff report. Also keeping in mind the substantial evidence that you heard in support of the conditional use permit as well as in opposition of the conditional use permit. We also have legal counsel online, some of the other things that I had, heard as well. Now this would be under a list of potential conditions, but that all other town, county, state, and federal laws are followed. One of the things we heard from the applicant was an air pollution control permit that would fall under other state laws. And I guess I'll just help you answer any other additional questions you may have.
Jay, I'd like to hear from Rebecca on this before we proceed with a discussion or a motion to either approve or deny. Rebecca?
Are you sure you want to hear from me? Okay.
Oh.
Good morning, everyone. Rebecca Roker with the Tolis Law. So Jay is correct that substantial evidence is your evidentiary standard when looking at a conditional use permit under 5969(5)(e). And there are two components of this application. We've got component A, which is the early renewal request, and component B, which is the addition of the hot mix asphalt plant. And so the way that the county has traditionally viewed renewals or early renewals is the information, the threshold of evidence to be presented is akin to a new conditional use permit application. So from my perspective, the information that you have in front of you does meet that threshold for you to be able to review both of these requests at the same time. Going on with substantial evidence, again, you must have substantial evidence to justify not only any condition that you were to place on approval of the permit, but you must also have, if you were inclined to deny the permit, you must also have substantial evidence. Now, you've received many letters. You've heard from many in the public via the public hearing. And so I'm sure you're asking yourselves whether that testimony is substantial evidence under the statutes. And unfortunately, we do not have any case law that tells us whether that type of personal testimony meets the threshold of substantial evidence that we have in 5969(5)(e). The statutory intent of that section was to weed through personal preferences and emotions and I don't want this in my neighborhood. And so again, the definition in the statutes looks to what is measurable, what is, if we've got data, things of that nature. However, I struggle because you've heard from people who have personally witnessed the noise, who have personally witnessed the vibrations, if you will, and that is under the existing permit. So what do you do with all of that evidence? I think that's really the crux of what this committee has to look at. And as we've been sitting in through the public hearing, I've been continuing to do the research on that, whether that personal testimony may be deemed substantial evidence. And we look at many different statutes that go to what evidentiary standards are. And I think the fact that individuals have personal knowledge, so individuals who have personally witnessed, the noise, the vibration, odors, things of that nature, I think you can utilize those opinions. We're at a challenge from a record standpoint because we know we have the 50+ letters, which I appreciate the committee reading all of those and acknowledging that they are part of the record. And so you may consider those letters. However, when we have a discussion of the request, I also would encourage members of the committee to reference those letters or information that is specifically, in them, so we can make sure we're making our record. Any other questions, I'm happy to answer. And if you don't, not only questions about the evidentiary standard, but other questions on what options you may have in terms of actions you can take and so forth, I'd be happy to answer those. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead, Kay.
I am curious if we can separate the early renewal of the crushing and the plant from the hot mix plant aspect of this CUP.
Yes, you may. You can look at these as part A and part B of the application. And so you may take action on the portion of part A or the portion of part B. Another option would be to take action on part A, which is the early renewal. And then as part of that early renewal, a condition is no temporary hot mix asphalt plant. I think from a legal standpoint, it's cleaner to do it the first way and take action on each item and then have substantial evidence for both. If you went with option 2 and approved the renewal with the condition of no temporary hot mix asphalt plant, you would still need substantial evidence to justify that condition. So under any scenario, if the committee is so inclined to not approve the hot mix asphalt plant, you must have substantial evidence to justify that decision.
Okay.
Chairman, I got a question for Jay.
Yeah, go ahead.
So Jay, this is a request for an early renewal. When was it scheduled to be renewed? Is that several years out?
October of 2026, I believe.
Okay.
Yes, October.
And they want this early renewal because they're expanding their acreage, right? From 35 to 38.7.
Yes, and also the inclusion of the
hot mix plant. And then increasing the acreage would also require an amendment and update to the reclamation plan.
Correct, and that is
Does
listed.
that happen? I mean,
Yeah, so it is
further down
listed as.
here that there is one on file, but I don't see, has it been amended? Has it, to include those extra acres?
Right, so it is listed as a potential condition for approval. Now, ultimately, their final reclamation is not changing. So with not changing their final reclamation and just increasing the acreage, it was advised and discussed between conservation staff that that wouldn't merit a separate public hearing process for that reclamation plan, because there's already a reclamation on plan, on file. We are amending that plan to include an additional 3.7 acres of expansion. Now, if you want to have that broken out separately, we could, eliminate that portion and hold a separate public hearing prior to expanding over the currently allowed 35 acres. And then we'd have them come in for a separate request for a 3.7 acre expansion. They're not at that point yet, but they are anticipating that over the next 5 years, with potential DOT contracts and an asphalt plant, that they may end up having to expand the pit operation. So I would leave that on this committee that, if you felt justified that we want to review a full additional reclamation plan, even though the final reclamation is not changing, but to allow for that additional 3.7 acres, we could hold that as a separate public hearing. Otherwise, you could condition it for approval as part of this renewal request.
Yeah, no, I'm not concerned about that, about the 3 extra acres.
So,
I am more concerned though that they have, that the town of Bass Lake Board had all this information in front of them. And was it unanimous there?
Yes.
That they approve all these requests?
5-0.
5-0, early.
Asphalt plant.
Asphalt plant.
Yes. And you had heard some testimony, as to, the comments that were made as far as, what occurred at the town of Bass Lake meeting. I was not there, obviously, but, this committee definitely has, a tough job ahead of them here for, the request that now is in front of you, sure.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, Chairman, I just.
Oh, that's okay.
Then there's two other gravel pits nearby or within this site?
Nearby, immediately adjacent.
Nearby. Do they have asphalt plants?
No, I do not believe so. You'd have to give me a little moment to verify that though, but I don't believe so. I'll actually look, to be honest.
I'm sure they don't. It's not there.
John Jacks and Mast. I don't believe Mast had an asphalt plant at his.
So they're just rock crushing and.
Yeah,
right.
Non-metallic mining operation, including rock crusher. I specifically know that is the case for Mast.
And we
believe John
recently
Jack had
renewed
that
one of
too.
those, right? In the same area.
Yeah,
we did.
Just the rock crushing and the hours. Okay, that's.
So, all right, committee. We're gonna turn it over to you. We've had a lot of testimony here today. And like Jay said, we have a tough one. So, we better, you better either approve it or deny it with, the stipulations that Rebecca and Jay, and do one or the other.
I would like to separate the two issues before us with the early renewal and the hot mix plant for our next motion. And
Yes.
I'd like to approve the early renewal of the crushing and the pit. And that would be based on the conditions for approval that Jay presented, excluding the asphalt plant in that condition. And it would, findings of fact would be recognizing the need of agriculture, forest, and industry and business of future growth, and encourage use of land and other natural resources which are in accordance with their character and adaptability.
So your motion is to approve the early
Renewal.
and you leaving out the hot mix plant out of that motion?
Correct.
Okay.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second.
In discussion, for a clean record, and I'm sure Rebecca would also like this, is there any additional substantial evidence that you can put with that? Or go ahead, Rebecca.
Yeah, so I think I'd like the maker of the motion to clarify that. Ms. Wilson, do you mean that in that approval, are you denying the second part, or are you anticipating there to be another motion for action on part B of the application, which is the hot mix asphalt?
I would have a second motion for the hot mix plant.
Okay, thank you. And so with that, Mr. Chairman, the committee should have the discussion of the substantial evidence to support its approval of the motion, if that's what it is so inclined to do. And I haven't heard, there's been some testimony as to whether the underlying conditional use permit or the renewal should be approved. But again, I want the committee to focus on this portion of the decision is for the existing, the renewal of the existing conditional use permit. So that is where your evidentiary focus needs to be for this portion of your decision.
Oh, okay, committee, what is the substantial evidence that you're supporting for this motion?
I would say that the pit has been in existence since 1995 with no objections to the pit. And it is an important aspect for Sawyer County and the aggregate that is realized from this pit.
Okay. Is that good, Rebecca, or do we need more than that?
I would encourage other committee members to voice their thoughts as well.
Okay. Mr. Magnuson, you got any input on this?
I think it would benefit everyone in the area as testified. There's building and construction in the area, and they need roads and I'm sure they all drive on roads and blacktop there, and they need blacktop, and it's more efficient to produce blacktop where it's being used, and that's it creates more pollution to haul blacktop down the road with trucks that pollute the air. So in respect to everybody that uses resources, it would be more efficient and lower cost for the government to have not have trucks hauling blacktop farther than is necessary. So and again, we all use blacktop. We all drive on it every day, and unfortunately, everybody needs it. So
Thank you, Mr. Kiernan. You got any input?
The pit, the mineral extraction and rock crushing is certainly compatible with, the adjacent pits and operations.
Sure.
Well, honestly, Chairman, I'm leaning more to why are we addressing this now I feel the town board should have addressed further than to make their decision unanimous, because there's so many people, members of Bass Lake Township, that are against this. And all these, in my opinion, I think they should have listened to them. And I would lean more towards declining the early renewal and let the town board hear this again, and we'll look at it a year from now. That's my thoughts, Chairman.
Okay.
Because I'm a little concerned about litigation if we don't come up with all the reasons why not right now.
Rebecca has her hand up again. What's that? Rebecca has her hand up again.
Go ahead, Rebecca.
Yeah, I think apologies for the intrusion. But Mr. Schuman raises a good point and a potential option for the committee, which is to whether to table the decision on both elements or either element to a date certain. Now, the request in front of you is obviously in front of you. So it would, if we could have a dialogue with the applicant, if the tabling to a date certain is something the committee would like to explore. It's not always good to put the applicant on the spot, but if that's something they could provide us some feedback on, we could, then the committee could come back to the decision either closer to the renewal date, or if there is other information to be presented on either part. That is certainly an option that the committee could look at.
Okay, yeah, I agree with that because usually the zoning committee goes for what the towns approve.
If I can interrupt you, Mr. Chair.
Go ahead.
I think that, in terms of substantial evidence, and the town's recommendation, as we've talked about before, you can utilize that in your consideration. But I don't know how much we have the actual town record in front of us. And as part of your action today, I don't think you could make it a condition that the town rehear this or take action again. That is wholly within the discretion of the town. If they choose to, that's okay, but I don't think you should make that a condition of your decision.
Okay. Just hang on a minute, ma'am. I'm looking at the, most of these people from Bass Lake said they weren't aware of the town board meeting at that time and didn't attend. So, and I guess, like Rebecca says, I don't know how we can't make the town hear it again. So, but I kind of agree with Mr. Schuman, them people need their input on the town side of it. Go ahead, sir.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
I do just want to say that at the second town.
Come up to the mic, please. Yes.
Just picks it up for recording purposes.
Absolutely. Sorry, let me repeat myself. So, thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to put out there that at the second town meeting, I attended both town meetings. The first town meeting was pretty sparse. The second one, the town hall was full. And everyone was sitting there hearing the agenda item as it was reviewed. I just want to put that on the record.
The town hall was full?
Correct. The chairs were filled.
Okay, just keep it with the committee here, please, not amongst you guys out there. So,
Ultimately, we do have a motion on the floor right now. This is part of discussion on that motion, and we can certainly read the motion back.
Your question. They keep talking about evidence, but I think we've heard from people like Anna Person that based on similar communities that have had an asphalt plant come in, there have been reactions that probably aren't evidentiary, even if it wasn't in our community and similar ones. Can't that be considered?
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, go ahead, Rebecca.
I apologize, but I can't hear what's being said, and B, I highly advise you need to keep order. And if you want to allow people and recognize people to speak.
We did keep order.
Okay, no, I know, sir, but.
Let this woman speak because she can't get to the microphone.
Okay, maybe somebody could take a microphone back to her. I want to make sure that the record is clear.
Yeah, it was to summarize additional testimony that we heard that, in her opinion, would support substantial evidence for other hot mix plants that have shown, undue circumstances. Again, we have a motion on.
We have a motion, a second on the floor. Any more discussion on this?
Chairman, could Kathy read that back so we know?
Yes.
Wilson made motion to go ahead and renew the asphalt plant.
No,
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 No.
no. The motion and
a
KL,
renewal,
Yes.
excuse me, I was trying to write,
that this would be broken out
Just
into
for the
two
renewal.
parts.
correct. And that they would need a different motion for the hot mix plant. What was approved was for the early renewal with the crushing and the pit. It was seconded by Magnuson.
Sorry, Chairman. And Jay, that includes the increased acreage then too?
Yeah, as per, I remember from the motion maker, it was to include all the elements in the staff report, that this is broken out as a separate motion. One of the additional conditions as part of this motion is that there would be no hot mix plant, and that we would hear that as a separate motion.
Okay. All right. Committee. What do you want to do with this?
Well, let's vote.
Well, start it out.
Well, you're the roll call.
Roll call.
Dale Magnuson,
Yes.
Kay Wilson,
yes,
Ron Buckholz,
Yes.
Steve Carriennen,
Yes.
Tweed Schuman,
No.
4-1 approve.
So we'll need a second motion here. Because Kay's initial motion was to break this out as to two separate parts. So the motion that just passed was for renewal of the conditional use permit, which would be an early renewal that would contain the non-metallic mining operation and rock crusher, including the conditions as listed in the staff report, which should also be an additional inclusion that part of that first motion did not include the asphalt plant. We'd be looking for a second motion to either approve or deny the asphalt plant.
I'd like to make that motion, please. I'd like to make a motion to deny the hot mix plant based on information that I have substantial evidence that from the National Institute of Health that toxic air emissions would affect the air quality. It leads to at least a minimum of an 11% decline in housing values, and the particulate matter is substantial. I have experience with the Merotech pit on Highway 77 and the residents on Hildreth Road complaining of particulate matter all over their cars, their windows, their siding, and it is, the Merotech pit is also under all of these standards. So I'm not sure how that would apply. That small asphalt plants produce thousands of asphalt, that produce tons of asphalt a year, also release up to 50 tons of toxic fugitive emissions into the air. And also 40% of toxins from asphalt plants meet air quality standards, but the other 60% of emissions, the state of North Carolina says it lacks sufficient data to determine safe levels. So based on that, I would like to deny the hot mix plant because it does not promote health, public health, safety, and convenience of general welfare. It does not protect property values and tax base. It does not encourage protection of groundwater. It does not protect beauty and amenities of landscape and man-made developments, and it does not provide healthy surroundings for family life.
Okay. We have a motion on the floor. Do I have a second?
I would second it, Chairman.
Okay, we have a motion by Ms. Wilson and a second by Mr. Schuman to deny the hot mix plant as with the finding of the facts presented in the motion.
And the additional substantial evidence. Rebecca has her hand raised again.
Go ahead, Rebecca.
Thank you. Supervisor Wilson gave us, that substantial evidence within, when the motion was made. Supervisor Wilson, if you could just reiterate where that information came from, and the source of that, what is presented as substantial evidence.
The information that I had came from the National Institute of Health. And also information came from the Blue Ridge Environmental Defense League.
Okay. And then I would encourage other committee members to speak to that information that was presented and any other information that has been included in the record today that would indicate substantial evidence to support a decision that they plan to vote on.
Okay, Magnuson.
Well, I don't know. I know Ms. Wilson is correct there with asphalt plants do put out particles and this and that, but as the representative from Matthew was explaining to us, they follow all the laws and they follow the Department of Resources Chapter 30 in compliance with that, and they hire independent testing of their portable plants. So what more can an asphalt company do but to they have to produce.
You're breaking up, Mr. Magnuson.
For our and the ones that make the asphalt. Oh, the internet.
I'm sorry, Mr. Magnuson, you're breaking up on our end here.
Anyway, so okay, I'll go closer to my Wi-Fi.
Okay, Mr. Kariainen, you got it.
Hey, can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you, Mr. Magnuson.
You better now?
Yes.
Okay. Anyway, make it short. They do follow all the rules. They have in the past. The asphalt was made there a couple times prior, 2004, 2007. There's quite a bit of woods around that site, trees and, vegetation. So I I don't know what more the applicant can do, so.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Mr. Kariainen.
Well, this is a tough one for sure. I can see the need for the product is very strong going forward. But I'm also sensitive to the needs of the folks in that neighborhood. And when we look at the asphalt operation, I have a couple of questions. Is the 5-year renewal period set in stone, or could we change that to a 1 or 2 year period?
You previously had made a motion for a 5-year renewal of the non-metallic mining operation, including rock crusher at this point. We do have a motion and a second on the floor right now to deny the asphalt plant operation as part of that. If you were looking at amending that motion, or if this motion was to fail, you could set another motion that could structure a time frame for the potential temporary asphalt plant. But I don't know if you can necessarily go back on the mining operation and rock crusher at this point. Unless it was to be brought up as a separate motion of reconsideration at this time, was at the same meeting.
All right.
Okay,
Thanks.
thanks.
You want it?
Well, my only comment is that I agree with Supervisor Wilson's findings of facts for denial.
Okay. Quickly, sir, stand up to the mic. We're about ready to rule here.
Thank you, Chairman. It's Jeff Johnson again. I just want to thank Ms. Wilson for the reference of information that she has on air quality. I would just like to elaborate just a little bit. I understand the EPA and the Wisconsin DNR are the authorities for issuing permits and establishing compliance to those permits for this industry. While the information Ms. Wilson may have provided is industry in general, the DNR reviews these permits for each facility based on their emissions, and they are required to test, providing the evidence that would show they are in compliance with standards set to protect public health. On Wisconsin, we do over 500 hazardous air pollutants, including carcinogens. The DNR does review those. I'm not saying this lightly. I just want to make sure that you have the evidence in front of you that they have made a decision to issue a permit knowing that at the emission levels that the plant would generate would still be protective of public health. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we have a motion and a second on the floor to deny the asphalt plant in CUP number 25-051. Any more discussion? Not, roll call, Kathy, please.
Dale Magnuson,
No.
Kay Wilson,
Yes.
Ron Buckholz,
Yes.
Steve Carriennen,
No.
Tweed Schuman,
Yes.
3-2 approve the denial.
Okay, all right. Thank you, everybody. We want to take a little break for the next one. We're gonna take about a 5-minute break before we go into the next hearing.
Mike, can you hit audio?
I call this zoning committee meeting back to order. Mr. Magnuson, Kay, are you still on there? I know it's on.
Yes, sir. I'm here.
Okay, all right.
I'm here.
I had to move my
Okay.
computer.
All right.
This is a public hearing in the town of Winter. This is a public hearing in the town of Winter. This is for the reclamation plan for conditional use permit number 25-053, owner RNP Earth and Forest. It's part of the southeast one quarter, section 18, township 38 north, range 5 west, tax ID 34182. It is 39 total acres, zoned to agricultural 1. Permit is desired for the Sawyer County NR 135 reclamation issuance for location operation of a non-metallic mineral open pit limited to 30 acres of an actual mine site. As part of the reclamation plan is included as part of my staff report. The applicant is requesting to reopen a non-metallic mineral extraction operation on the property described and just read into record. As part of this reclamation request, a separate public hearing will be held for the operation plan next. Per the plan of operation, 25 acres of disturbance is proposed with reclaiming as they go. The reclamation plan, however, would cover the entire 25 acres, and they have actually requested, I believe it was for 30. So that should actually be for 30 acres. I gotta look back here now. Hold on a second. And maybe I'll re-ask the applicant. I believe the R&P earthwork does actually specify 25 acres of open area, not the 30 acres as put onto the publication. So it is as per the 25 acres. The reclamation plan would cover the entire 25 acres. With that being said, the main area of gravel would be located at the higher elevations as shown on the topography maps. Per the plan, the pit depth is not to exceed 25 feet on non-excavated portions as to stay above the groundwater elevation, which is proposed 33 feet to 60 feet below the current surface elevation. Surrey County Zoning and Conservation Department has reviewed the reclamation summary and concludes that the plan is consistent with the standards specified in NR 135, with the post-mining activity described as passive wildlife habitat and or pasture land. The Sawyer County Zoning Committee, being the regulatory authority, may approve, conditionally approve, or deny the reclamation plan. If the regulatory authority approves the reclamation plan subject to the general compliance requirements of NR 135, the approval may not include conditions that are not related to the reclamation plan. Other conditions may be added during the public hearing process for the location and plan of operation. One required condition of approval of the reclamation plan shall be that they must have a new mine. A new mine must obtain financial assurance pursuant to NR 135.40. As part of the staff report there again, and the additional information included as part of the packet, you can see the proposed reclamation plan. The town board, I'm not sure if they break this out into two separate approval requests. They do. By action of the town board, motion for the reclamation plan was approved. John Zarowski, chair, Dan Pluger, supervisor, Tom Howell, supervisor. No additional comments. Signed, Ginny Pettit, town clerk. There were 8 additional notification letters sent out to adjacent property owners. No additional comments were received.
So we're looking at 25 acres instead of the 39.
25 acres.
Okay, all right, I need a motion to go into public hearing for the reclamation plan for CUP number 25-053, please.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it, Chair.
We have a motion by Mr. Kiranen and a second by Mr. Schulman to go into public hearing on CUP number 25-053. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. We are now in public hearing and I know Mr. Dennis is here. Want to step forward, Randy, and talk to us?
Okay, thank you. My name is Randy Dennis. I'm the owner of R&P Pit. Just to verify one thing, I had 30 acres as the mine. I don't know where the 25 come in.
As part of the reclamation plan that you'd signed here, it says total area of the mine to be 25 acres. I have it shown up here on the screen here right now. And we can certainly circle back with that. I mean, if there's a request to go over 25 acres of mineral extraction of that area, we can do an amendment to the reclamation plan. But as per the reclamation plan that was signed by you, it does indicate proposed area of the mine to be 25 acres.
Okay, well, I mean, I'm fine with that for now. I mean, if I want to extract or add to it, I could. And
Yeah, and I don't think you're going to get to that in the next 5 years.
no, I don't either, really, to be honest with you. So I'm happy with where it's at. Otherwise, I have no other comments or issues.
Okay. All right, any questions for Mr.
Yeah, I do,
Dennis?
Chairman.
Yes, go ahead.
Mr. Dennis, correct?
That's
How long has this mine been stagnant or not in operation then? Has it been?
been in
a year?
operation since, the pit we're in now has been in operation since 2019, I believe.
Oh, okay.
But it was co-owned.
Well,
Yeah, and I'll get to that in
Because it had
location
requested
operation.
reopen. Oh, I see. All right. Got
All
it.
right, any more questions for Mr. Dennis, anybody? All right, thanks, Randy.
welcome, thank you.
All right, does anyone out there want to speak in favor of this CUP? Does anyone out there want to speak in opposition of the CUP? Okay, if not, need a motion to go out of public hearing on CUP number 25-053, please.
Yep, I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Schuman, second by Ms. Wilson to come out of public hearing on CUP number 25-053. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, motion carries. We are now out of public hearing.
This is the discussion action in the town of Winter for the reclamation plan for conditional use permit number 25-053, owner RNP Earth and Forest. Legal description is previously read into record. Again, the request is desired for the Sawyer County NR 135 reclamation issuance. This would be for a 25-acre open pit mine site area. Would not be anticipated that a full 25 acres would be open, but the reclamation plan would include the full 25 acres at this point.
Okay, committee. What's your preference here? Need a motion?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion that we approve this CUP reclamation plan as presented. And as Jay mentioned, it follows all NR 135 reclamation ordinance.
Okay.
How's that sound, Jay? That work?
Okay, we have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Go ahead. Motion by Mr. Schuman, second by Mr. Magnuson to approve the whatever. Tongue tie. For the CUP number 25-053. All in favor, say aye. Oh,
Aye.
roll call, Kathy. Sorry. No, we're still in. I'm way lost here. Oh, roll call, Kathy. I was headed in the right direction.
Okay.
Yep, we're good.
Kay Wilson,
Yes.
Tweed Schuman,
Yes.
Dale Magnuson.
Yes.
Steve Carrianen,
Yes.
Ron Buckles.
Yes.
Thank you. All in favor.
All right, moving on. This is a public hearing, town of Winter. This is for the location and operation of conditional use permit number 25-053, owner RNP Earth and Forest. Legal description is previously read into record. Again, this permit is desired, and we're going to ultimately call this a new non-metallic mining and mineral extraction operation, including rock crusher. The parcel consists of an existing gravel pit, and it is subject to have 25 total acres to be mined, with 4 to 5 acres of an existing non-reclaimed pit area. Initially, this pit was working under conditional use permit 19-029, which was co-owned by Ralph Pettit and Randy Dennis. Ralph Pettit had previously indicated to the Conservation Department that he was no longer seeking renewal of the pit area and would start the reclamation process to close up the pit. At that point, Conservation, excuse me. At that point, the Conservation Department did not renew the conditional use permit in that, Ralph Pettit had told us, well, he is now no longer seeking renewal and he was going to go through the process of reclamation. This was a co-owned pit, and I guess, the disconnect there was that, well, no one talked to Randy Dennis to see if he wanted to still continue operation out there. So it was later discovered that Randy Dennis still wanted to continue operation on that portion of the property that he owns, and this would not be a joint venture. It was believed, again, that there was some confusion in the conservation staff here, is that only Mr. Pettit was wanting to close his side of the operation. So this is viewed as now a new operation for reclamation plan, which also must be approved by the zoning committee. The actual mine site is approximately 4 acres with the request to have the allowed mine site of 25 acres. It is anticipated that active open acres would never fully be the 25 acres and reclamation would occur as expansion continues. The surrounding area is predominantly forestry and agricultural with light residential. The nearest residence is approximately 1,000 feet away and is the existing pit owner's residence. This pit has been in existence for over 70 years as the pit is in general. Randy's portion has been recently kind of expanded. The specified normal hours of operation are to be 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Monday through Saturday, approximately 8 months per year, weather depending. Crushing hours are to be 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Monday through Saturday, not to exceed 3 weeks per year. Financial assurance has been received in the form of a bond. There have never been any complaints on file for the existing pit operation. As a list of potential conditions would be to obtain approval of the reclamation plan, which they had has just occurred, that the hours of operation, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Monday through Saturday, crushing hours 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Monday through Saturday, not to exceed 3 weeks per calendar year, that a fire number or site address would be required for the property, which they've already applied for, to maintain compliance with DNR Chapter 30 permits, comply with all federal, state, and local regulations, including approval of the reclamation plan, which they have already been granted, and that the conditional use permit goes with the property. If the property changes hands before the renewal, the new owner must complete a non-metallic mining transfer form with Sawyer County to acknowledge that the compliance of the current plan of operation conditions and reclamation plan. By action of the town board, motion was approved. Again, John Zaralski, town chair, Dan Pluger, supervisor, Tom Housel, supervisor. No additional comments signed, Jenny Pettit, town clerk. Again, there were 8 additional notification letters sent out to adjacent property owners with 300 feet. No additional comments were received. That is all.
Okay, thanks, Jay. All right, need a motion to go into public hearing on CUP number 25-053.
Motion, sir, to go into public hearing.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Schuman, and a second by Mr. Carrianen to go into public hearing on CUP number 25-053. So all in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. We are now in public hearing on CUP number 25-053. So Randy, you want to tell us any more, or is it just the same what was earlier? Okay, all right. You have any more questions for him, committee? Mr. Magnuson or Kay, do you have any questions?
No.
Okay, thank you.
Chairman, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Randy, do you plan, it says you're only gonna operate 3 weeks out of the year.
Just for the crushing, for
Oh,
the
the crushing, okay.
crushing, yeah. The activity no longer than 3 weeks. A year.
Okay, no, that works, thanks.
All right. Anybody else have a question? If not, does anyone out there want to speak in favor? Anyone out there want to speak in opposition? Not, need a motion to come out of public hearing on CUP number 25-053, please.
Yeah.
Schuman.
I'll make that motion, sir, that would come out of public hearing.
Okay.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Schuman, a second by Mr. Kiernan to come out of public hearing on CUP number 25-053. Any more discussion? Not, all in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed, motion carries. We are now out of public hearing.
This is the discussion action, Town of Winter, for the location operation of conditional use permit number 25-053, owner R&P Earth and Forest. Legal description is previously read into record. Again, this request is for a new non-metallic mining operation to be as 25 total acres, keeping in mind the list of potential conditions and findings of facts included in my staff report.
Okay, Mitty, turn it over to you. Need a motion to either approve or deny? Gary,
I'll make a motion to approve CUP number 25-053 with all of the conditions previously listed and findings of fact number 1, 5, and 7.
Okay, and I'd second that, Chairman.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Carrianen, a second by Mr. Schuman with the findings of fact. Any more discussion? Not, roll call, Kathy, please. That's okay.
Tweet Schuman.
Yes.
Dale Magnuson.
Yes.
Ron Buckholz.
Yes.
Steve Carrianen.
Yes.
Kay Wilson.
Yes.
All in favor. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
This is a part of a final plat review. This is public hearing, Town of Coudray. This is for this Tuscobia Woods final subdivision plat, owner secluded land company LLC, northeast one quarter, the southwest one quarter. This is as tax ID 4786, parcel 004-838153101. It's 40 total acres, zoned forestry 1. Tuscobia Woods is proposing a 4-lot subdivision. This would be for a total of 7 lots of the parent 40-acre parcel. This does require zoning committee acceptance, conditional acceptance or rejection. As part of my staff report, again, the subdivider has already been approved of a certified survey map that has split the original 40 acres into 4 separate lots. This practice is commonly done in that 3 of those new children lots can be sold off separately, while the larger lot 4 seeks the approval of the additional lot split through the county subdivision lot process. The larger lot 4 consists of 22.97 acres, and that is the lot that is being proposed to be split into 4 additional lots, all greater than 5 acres. Again, this requires a county subdivision plat approval process. The plat itself has met all the requirements as specified as the Sawyer County subdivision ordinance. I myself have deemed that, and the Sawyer County surveyor has deemed that the plat meets all the requirements as per recording. All roads as part of the subdivision are to remain private roads. The Sawyer County Zoning Committee approved a preliminary plat with no other conditions. The Sawyer County Zoning Committee can still do the following. They can approve the final plat, conditionally approve the final plat, table the decision pending additional information, or reject the plat due to unsuitable land use and afford the subdivider the opportunity to present additional evidence for suitability. The Town of Coudray has approved the final plat request at their town board meeting in October and has already granted special use permit approval for residential buildings within the Forestry 1 zone district in conjunction with the plat approval process. We have motion by the town board or action by the town board to be approved. James Bassett, chairman, Phil Miles, supervisor. No additional comments, signed Charlie Warner, town clerk. There, as part of the final plat approval process, there were 6 additional notification letters sent out to adjacent property owners. No additional comments were received. We did have a few additional objections as part of the prelim process. For those that need the refresher, we had 2 individuals that were in objection to the prelim process, stating again further, subdivision of land. I can reread those back into record, but ultimately the committee did approve the preliminary plat. And again, we do not have any additional comments now for the final plat approval process. That is all.
Okay. All right. I need a motion to go into public hearing on the final plat subdivision, please.
So moved.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Karainen. Do I have a second?
Second, Chairman.
And a second by Mr. Schuman to go into public hearing on this Tuscobia Woods final subdivision plat. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, motion carries. We are now in public hearing. Is the applicant here? Speak.
Mr. Chairman, can I
Yes.
interrupt a minute?
Yes.
I have to leave this meeting right now. I will try to get on with my phone in a little bit. But you have a quorum without me.
Yep. Okay, that's fine.
Thank you.
You bet. Thank you. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, so we're just in the
Can you state your name for the record, please?
Daniel Stockert representing Secluded Land Company. Yeah, just in the final plat process here. One thing I did want to make you aware of is the minor change that we have done on that plat is nothing to the map itself, but it's actually on page 2 where the signatures are. There was an error in the consent of mortgage. That language wasn't correct for the actual mortgagee in this case. So we did change the language there. We went back to the town board this month and then got a gained approval from them yet again with the dates of the October 8th meeting, but with their new signatures.
Okay. All right. Any questions for the applicant? Oh. Mr. Magnuson, any questions?
No, sir.
Hey, thank you. All right, does anyone out there want to speak in opposition to this CUP? Or final subdivision? Go ahead, ma'am. State your name and address, please, for the record.
My name is Jennifer Peterson. I live at 3668N County Road C, Exland. And even though it's Township of Courray, basically a half mile from where the subdivision is proposed. And I guess one of the first things I'd like to point out is, when this got approved by the town, it was mostly in fear of a lawsuit against the town, which I don't know. I guess I don't understand that one, but I just would like to point that one out. And I think they need to look into that a little bit further. But I had originally written a letter to zoning about this, and a few of the things I'd like to point out are safety concerns and also possible conflicts in that area. And my background is I had 20 years of forestry and wildland fire control on top of, volunteer fire departments. And that property is 40 acres of 41-year-old aspen. Now, during the town meeting, I asked them how old the aspen was, and they didn't know. The owners of the representative of that property, they didn't have any idea how old that aspen was. And one of the town board members who's nearby, said, yeah, the last time it was cut was 1984. Typically in Wisconsin, in northern Wisconsin anyways, our aspen lasts anywhere from 35 to 41 years old before it starts crumbling and falling apart. They stated that they had no plans to clear cut that aspen before it was sold. And if you look at the air photo close up, it's primarily aspen. There's some scattered large oak and spruce throughout there. And I've also hunted in there in the past, but it's got nothing to do with this. First of all, the occurrence, and by the way, the age of the aspen, I was looking at the 1998 air photos, and you can see that the aspen is much smaller then. So it kind of goes with the age of the aspen. But anyways, up here in northern Wisconsin, we have a lot of windstorms. A few years back, we had that major snowstorm that knocked down a lot of trees. And actually on our area, we were without power for a week. And we had a hard time moving that snow around and everything. Our fire department is very small, and I mean very small. And we rely on like Exland Fire to come and help, and LCO Radisson, the surrounding fire departments to come and help. And if you put 7 buildings in there, you are asking for that many more problems with if we do have windstorms or snowstorms that are knocking trees down on houses and everything else. And it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. We actually had a little mini storm go through this summer, late summer, and it was weird. It only affected our area and, lost power and everything and had trees come down all over the place. It's just kind of weird. But anyways, and we're all familiar with the 77 storm and all that stuff, but we have windstorms come through periodically. And first of all, cutting people out, houses, whether it's houses or whether it's roads, cutting those trees out are dangerous. It is a dangerous operation. You have to be very skilled cutting those out. And we all do it. We've all done it in the past, and I unfortunately have a lot of experience doing that. But to put 7 houses in the middle, whether it's a cabin or a trailer or a McMansion, in the middle of an aspen area like that, that's ready to crumble apart, is the craziest thing I've ever heard. I mean, you're just asking for trouble. And furthermore, you're going to put a large strain on our local fire department and first responders in the area by doing that. And then the other problem that I'm seeing with this is it is surrounded by farmland. And then we have in the back there, you go down Paradish, you're basically entering the 9 Mile Loop where we have essentially 1,000 acres of county forest there. And to gain access on this side of that county land, you've got log trucks going through all the time on Paradish Road. Not all the time, but when they have timber sales, you've got log trucks going through. And then we've got the haying operations, we've got cattle there, we've got all sorts of things. And what I have seen over the years, whether it's here in Sawyer County, over in the Eagle River area, back in my home state of Vermont, out in Montana, where I used to live, I lived there for a year, and
Kind of cut it a little short now.
yep, I will.
Okay.
We are seeing major conflicts all over the place where people move in and they want to be in the country, but they don't want to see the farming, they don't want to see the logging, and I think we're just creating a problem by doing this. But mostly I'd like to point out the safety aspects of this property. This is, it makes no sense, but thank you.
All right, thanks, man. Anyone else, Linda?
Linda Zilmer, Edgewater property owner. Jim Bassett, who is the chairman of the town, used to serve as the zoning committee chair for this county for a long, long time. And Jim and I have had a really good chance to get reacquainted through all the MDD ad hoc committee meetings. And when Jim was the chair of this committee, special use permits used to come before this committee as a public hearing matter, and they were not pre-approved. And we're going to get to that in the next agenda item. But Jim and I have talked about this because, and I also received copies of information from the forms that the town sent back where they did make comments about the special use permits. But I agree 100% with what this woman has said before me. And I guess what I need to understand is what I've been observing is that Sawyer County would rather allow residential development at the expense of fragmenting your forest lands and your agricultural lands. And there has been a pattern over the last year or so of more and more of these things where developers come in and they chop up primarily forestry, but I've seen signs now on ag land into 5-acre parcels. That is not wise land use. The purpose of Forestry One District is to provide for the continuation of forest programs and related uses in those areas best suited for such activities. It's intended to encourage forest management programs and also recognize the value of the forest as a recreational resource by permitting as a conditional use certain activities, and that lists them. By fragmenting forestry land, it's still forestry, but you make it unharvestable, you make it unhuntable. And if all of a sudden some Forest Revitalization Act is going to come up and save our timber industry, fragmenting forestry blocks for residential use is not going to help. Jim had let me know about this before any of the paperwork came forward. He had a lot of concerns Again, fire was one of them. And I know in our monthly fire department meetings, our fire chief was really glad this month because most of these second homeowners and tourists have left because they're always going out fighting forest fires that are started by people either clearing their properties or having a bonfire. And I'm talking now about the special use permit because it was mentioned in what the zoning administrator read. The town was not comfortable with pre-approving special use permits. I think they put a limit on it, and that's going to be a separate item. But when you decide whether you give the final plat review, that should be separate from anything about special use permits. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else want to speak in opposition? Anyone want to speak in favor? Not. Need a motion to come out of public hearing on this Tuscobia Woods final subdivision plat, please.
Yes, sir, I'll make that motion.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Schuman. Second. I'll second that, Kathy. Okay, we have a motion and a second on the floor to come out of public hearing. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, motion carried. We are now out of public hearing.
This is the discussion action in the town of Coudray for the Tuscobia Woods final subdivision plat. Owner Secluded Land Company LLC. Legal description is previously read into record. This is 40 total acres zoned Forestry 1. Tuscobia Woods is proposed for 4 additional lots. This would then be 7 total lots of the parent 40-acre parcel. This requires zoning committee acceptance, conditional acceptance, or rejection. One thing that should be noted, the original 4-lot certified survey map is referenced as a minor subdivision process. That minor subdivision process, per the Sawyer County subdivision ordinance, does not require zoning committee approval. It would just be county surveyor approval and Sawyer County zoning administrator approval, verifying that the lots meet the requirements per the zone district. Furthermore, in 5 additional years, that lot 4 could be split into the 3 additional lots that they would ultimately seek anyways. That is referenced in the subdivision ordinance as well as state statutes. The request is ultimately that they're doing this within a quicker time frame, and that is the process of subdivision plats. It's for orderly land use development. If the committee feels that, further degradation or further dividing of forestry lands is, detrimental to the area, I mean, that is certainly something that you can, reject the plat or provide the applicant, additional information as to suitability of that area. But I would anticipate, moving forward just over the last 5 years of the developmental patterns that we have seen, and seeing that the plats that have come through this committee the last few years, there is no slowing down of this movement. I mean, there are additional people that are seeking division of land in our area.
Okay. All right, committee. What's your desire?
Jay, did you say that there were any conditions you would recommend putting on this before we approve it? Conditionally approve the final plat, or?
I would not.
You just mentioned that.
I wouldn't make any recommendations to that effect, no. I mean, you'd heard testimony. I'm not a forester by trade. I'm unfamiliar with the life expectancy of popple trees and the aspects that they would cause damage. I would think that any development would bring in heavy machinery that would really just kind of push these down. They generally don't even saw them anymore. They'll just take an excavator and push them. To clear out a building site, you'd be anticipated that, in a 5-acre, parcel of land, you'd probably clear, half acre of area for your yard and your house. So that you would have no aspects of trees falling on the house. And, if a tree falls in the middle of the woods, and that's where it falls. I guess the only other thing I guess you would potentially want to ask the applicant is there any plan for timber harvesting of this area? Maybe that's, you know, something of valid of information, but I would make no other additional recommendations.
And we had, Chairman, we had no conditions on previous plat approvals of this area.
Correct, yeah. This committee made no conditions as
Right.
part of the prelim approval.
And Jay, if I understood you right, rejecting this now would just delay it a bit and the developer would be,
Yeah, it's from when the initial certified survey map was recorded, and I don't have that exact date, it was several months ago. It sets a 5-year clock in
5
which, in which no further splitting of land or creation of new lots would be allowed. But say by October of 2030, a new minor subdivision references a certified survey map could be placed and approved.
without committee action. Okay.
Okay. All right. What's the committee's pleasure?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I would like to make a motion to approve the final plot plan for Tuscobia Woods as presented.
And finding of fact?
That it would I don't have that in front of me, but
I don't know if we necessarily do need findings of facts for a
I don't know.
final plat, Rebecca. Are you familiar with that? You're on mute.
Yeah, not to the same extent or the same threshold that you would for a conditional use permit. But, you know, I think a justification that it meets the requirements of the ordinance and the requirements, Jay, that you've articulated in your staff report is appropriate, since we need to have a basis for all of the decisions. So we can, if they're ever argued to be arbitrary or capricious, we've got evidence we can point to in the record. So I think a reference to the staff report and the underlying ordinances would be appropriate.
Okay, thanks, Rebecca.
Chairman, I would second that with those additions Rebecca made.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Magnuson and a second by Mr. Schuman to approve the final plat of the Tuscobia Woods. Any more discussion? Not? Need a motion to come out of public hearing? No, we're in discussion, sorry. You made a motion and a second.
Yep.
Any more discussion?
No, sir.
All right, roll call, Kathy.
Ron Buckholz,
Yes.
Kay Wilson, she is out right now.
She's on.
Oh, is she?
She popped back in.
Kay, are you on there?
Nope.
Dale Magnuson,
yes.
Tweed Schuman,
Yes.
Steve Carriennen,
Yes.
all in favor.
Then, Mr. Stocker, do you have the plat with you? You can just leave it up here on the table, or you can give it to Mr. Markham here on the corner, then I'll take it from there. I know there was some additional fees that still needed to be paid for that. Okay, yeah, if you just want to leave it with Mr. Markham, we don't need to hold you here any longer if you don't want to. Moving on, this is for proposed ordinance amendment. This is public hearing, Sawyer County Code of Ordinances, Chapter 1, Article 2, Section 9. For citations and schedule of deposits. This is the proposed ordinance amendment is reference to updating the section references for the ordinance violations and increasing the deposit amounts. The proposed ordinance amendments are listed on the Sawyer County website. So this had gone out to the towns for review. I do have the red line version up there. So town of Bass Lake, approved. Ordinance needs to be communicated in written form and signed at the time of offense. Full scope of details of ordinance should be given. Town of Coudray denied. We would like the ability to change some of the increased citation amounts since they seem excessive. Draper approved. Edgewater denied with no additional comments. No, they just denied. Hayward approved. Hunter approved. Lenroot approved. Meadowbrook approved. Meteor approved. Ojibwa approved. Radisson approved. Round Lake, the town of Round Lake Town Board reviewed the proposed amendments to Sawyer County zoning conservation citation ordinance, including the updated statutory references and $100 increase to the citation deposit amounts across all categories of zoning and conservation violations. During our discussion, the board noticed that the ordinance had not been updated since 2013 and recognized that the county's intent was to bring citations amounts up to a current standard, improve consistency with state statutes, and strengthen the overall effectiveness of enforcement. Board members agreed that revised citation amounts would help promote better compliance with zoning regulations and enable the county to carry out enforcement actions more effectively. With no objections raised by town board, voted unanimously to approve the ordinance amendments. Town of Sand Lake denied, no additional comments. Town of Weirgore approved. Town of Winter approved. So that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 approved, 3 denied. You have the red line version in front of you. This is an official public hearing process. So you would need to open it up as a public hearing, take all additional testimony into place. The one late addition, and I had emailed this out to the committee, and there was no objections to doing this. So there was a little bit of, I guess, not a discrepancy, but a clarification aspect. So we have to have a listed deposit amount for said violation. That being said, there are additional fees that are then tacked on to that deposit amount as it relates to additional court cost. Those additional court costs have a rotating scale and fee based upon when that information is published by the Wisconsin court system. So not only is it the deposit amount, it would then also include all additional court costs. And that is further shown and showcased on this. Those include the additional court cost fees, forfeitures, fines, surcharges are added to the total deposit amount as to be indicated of the court cost. Any additional questions before we would open into a public hearing process?
Really? You got any questions before we go? Okay. All right.
I'll make a motion, Mr. Chairman, that we go into public hearing on our edits and amendments to our deposits and what do you call it, Jay?
Citation ordinance.
Citation ordinance.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Schuman and a second by Mr. Keinen to go into public hearing on the Sawyer County Code of Ordinances. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, motion carries. Linda, you want to speak?
Linda Zilmer, Edgewater property owner and taxpayer. I was at the Edgewater Town Board meeting. The item was properly noticed on their agenda. And when it came up, there was a motion to deny and a little bit of discussion and on a unanimous vote 3-0 to deny this scheduled deposit. Edgewater has their public comment period at the end of their meeting. So when that came up, I asked the town board members, I said, do you realize that this schedule of deposits is for violations? That right now the amount of violations are so low, there really isn't an incentive to comply with the ordinance. And also then the county is losing money because then the schedule of deposits doesn't require covering court costs. And I got a blank stare. So then the town chairman brought up I asked if there was an accompanying explanation that went to the towns with the exhibit that you have up. And so Pete pulled it up on his computer and he read it. And so then they realized that this was for penalties and not for application fees. And Scott Spaeth, one of the town board members, said, well, you know what? Sawyer County's not going to listen to us anyway. It doesn't matter and we're not going to revote. So I don't know that the town board in Edgewater really knew what it was that they were voting for, but they were in the minority as it is. Now, separately, for a long time now, since maybe this summer, I have been sending emails pointing out that as Sawyer County adopted a code of ordinances, it was drafted in two different formats. It involved two different county administrators. It involved changes back and forth with outside counsel from the Atolls law firm. And somehow this schedule of deposits is like in chapter 1 of the general code of ordinances, while your zoning ordinance is in appendix D separate. I have asked, as I think Muni Code could help with, is that the county have a schedule of fees and a schedule of deposits that are separate from the chapters, so that as the county goes through to update them, you're not trying to find them in all various sections of the code of ordinances. I don't know if anyone has followed up with that. So I'm not objecting to the amounts, but I just don't think that the scheduled deposits belongs in chapter 1 where it is. And I don't know whether this has been reviewed by legal or not. And so I'm interested to hear those thoughts too. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else out there want to speak? Either for or against?
I guess the only other thing that I'd want to say, and I'll make public comment on this as well. This was meant to be a very simplistic process, updating the sections as to reference the new code of ordinances and increasing the deposit amount fees by $100 across the board. We have issued, I believe we're up to now 12 citations this year, countless number of additional order for corrections and after the fact double permit fees, which now as of January 1 would go to triple the after the fact permit fees. This has been a goal and objective of mine with the additional staff member of 2025, and that was to ramp up on enforcement, and we have been doing so. I would be willing to share the full analysis as part of a year-end wrap-up to the committee. That enforcement is one of our top priorities and goals, and we have been doing that as such. Again, the ordinance amendment process itself was to be very simplistic and to increase the fee amounts to have more, I guess, bite to them, as well as updating the references to these sections is that they would be defendable if someone was to get a citation and say, hey, you're giving me a citation under a zoning ordinance, which really isn't part of the code of ordinances. So that is it in a nutshell. I did not have legal counsel review this. I don't know if legal counsel has any concerns or aspects with this, but we can certainly ask her as well.
Did she look at it?
No, I did not. I did not request a legal review of this. I felt that there'd be better money served not having her review this. I mean, if she had some type of glaring arguments or concerns, she can certainly let me know and we can potentially postpone approval of this. Otherwise, it would be my request that we move this on to county board for ratification. I do believe there was one other individual that had their hand raised as part of public comment as well.
Okay, whoever, go ahead. Go ahead.
Mr. Binding.
Steve Binding, Town of Draper, lowering my hand. I don't understand why we're going to raise fees when we have violations all over the place. I honestly, I kind of tell folks down here in Southern Sawyer County, don't worry about zoning because the war between zoning and certain assessors across the county have led to a level of vindictiveness that honestly I can't explain here in 3 minutes or understand why. So after the fact, if they ever even get turned in or it goes to a reval and just gets blended in, it doesn't really matter. Like you got to almost drive blindfolded in Sawyer County to not see the zoning violations. It's a state of moral hazard, and I don't
asked you several
probably
times.
certain people actually have to follow rules. Hey, you're not the committee, dude. Knock it off.
All right,
So
Steve.
this is my
Steve,
public comment,
back off.
and it's not enforced.
We're not here to argue.
No, I'm not.
We're here to
Ron,
listen to
because
you.
this is ridiculous.
But don't
This is
start
stupid.
knocking the zoning committee and the zoning administrator. We're not gonna put up
Well,
with
it's your
that.
job to do it, dude. Then
I didn't mute him.
You done?
Yeah, I didn't mute Mr. Binding, so.
Okay.
someone else might have, but was not me. Speaking of that, I'm not gonna respond to that. I mean, we're in public hearing, so.
No, that's right. So is there anyone else out there who wants to speak on these ordinances? I guess I'm gonna speak a little bit on them quickly here, but you know, it's been a while since these been updated of the fees. And I don't think the zoning is gonna be able to catch all these violations. We only have one code enforcement officer.
And really, the code enforcement officer is looking at other health and human service
Exactly.
violations.
So she can't be every place at the same, one place or whatever time, but anyway, so I don't have no problem with any of these fees being escalated up to $100. So, I don't know how he thinks we can, catch all these violations out there, but all I can say is do your best, Jay.
Yeah, and we do, you know, when we are driving around doing other on-site inspections, sanitary installs, you know, that's, you know, not uncommon that we jot down several site addresses to verify that they have, you know, proper permits and meeting proper setbacks, and that's how order for correction letters get generated. I mean, I've asked individuals in the past, I mean, you know, you'd heard from an individual that, you know, there's countless violations, and I've asked that individual several times, please give me an address as to what this potential violation is. On several occasions, I believe that individual was misinformed. There was either proper permits that had been issued, a subdivision that had been approved. So there must be some, you know, discommunication there.
Yeah.
Otherwise, please submit your complaints to the zoning office and we address those complaints when we receive them.
And I guess my next question is, if these people out there got a problem with the zoning office, get a hold of our administrator, Mr. Markgren, and he'll handle that. So, and one other thing quickly, as I drive around down in my area or wherever, and I see something that I believe is a zoning issue, I do forward it to Jay to make sure permits were issued or if they were not issued. So I kind of keep a lookout on that part of it in my area, so.
Right, I don't know who else, you know, travels outside of county. Go to some other counties. I think we're doing pretty good. As you drive around Washburn County, Rusk County, Price County, there are violations that I would see driving around those areas as well. So, okay, I think we're doing pretty good in Sawyer.
All right.
Yeah, I would second that, Jay. I think Sawyer County looks pretty damn good.
Yep, very good. All right, if no more, I need a motion to come out of public hearing on Sawyer County Code ordinances, please.
Yes, sir. I'll make a motion and come out of public hearing.
Okay, we got a motion by Mr. Schuman. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
And a second by Mr. Karanen to come out of public hearing on Sawyer County Code of Ordinances. So, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, motion carries. We are now out of public hearing.
Discussion action, Sawyer County Code of Ordinances, Chapter 1, Article 2, Section 9, for citations and schedules of deposits. Again, you have the red line version in front of you as well as the proposed clean version. This would then be seeking a motion of approval to move to county board for ratification.
Okay, committee.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. I'll make a motion that we approve these ordinance amendments and send them on to the Sawyer County Board at our next meeting for approval. Recommending approval from the zoning committee.
All right. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Schuman, a second by Mr. Karanen to approve the Sawyer County Code of Ordinances. Any more discussion? None? All in, can't roll call, Kathy. I always want to leave you out.
Ron Buckholz.
Yes.
Is Kay back on? Nope. Dale Magnuson.
Yes.
Tweet Schuman.
Yes.
Steve Carriennen,
Yes.
all in favor? Thank you.
All right, new business. 7A, I asked Jay to put this on as a discussion only as special use permits because actually, I wasn't aware that special use permits, when applied for, did not have to come before the zoning committee. And I asked Rebecca and I asked Jay why, and they explained this to me, which now I'm very well aware. And I would like to just have Jay bring you up to date so you can see if you guys are aware of all this special permit stuff.
Yeah, history background. Circa about 14 years ago, if someone wanted to build a residential house in a forestry 1 zone district or an agricultural 1 zone district, or even to the extent agricultural 2 zone district, it would have required a full conditional use permit approval process. 14 years ago, it was decided upon those zoning committee members at that time and the previous zoning administrator, Dale Olson, that we were seeing quite a few of these requests, and they were relatively approved without any other consideration, AKA rubber stamped. That committee at that time said, well, why are we bogging down this committee with hearing all these conditional use permits for someone wanting to build a residential home in the forestry zone district or the agricultural zone district? It was then decided with the zoning administrator at that time, the zoning committee, and the towns to break this process out through a special use permit approval process. That special use permit approval process is specified here in ordinance form, which requires zoning administrator approval and town board approval. We have several different elements that we send out, town approval requests for. This being one, as far as building of a residential structure in the Ag 1 zone district or the or a forestry 1 zone district. We also have town approval processes on shipping containers. We have town approval processes on, there's one other one that I can't think of it now. There's shipping containers. And reduced town road setbacks. Reduced town road setbacks was actually proposed by the Board of Adjustments or the Board of Appeals, in that they were seeing multiple cases in which they were approving garage structures as to a specific size that were requesting reduced road setbacks. And it was actually proposed by Mark Olson, an ex-Board of Appeals member, that they would, they were relatively approving them, but where they still wanted to keep the towns in the loop or in the process, for those approval processes. So this isn't anything new to the towns. I mean, town boards that have been around for the last 14 years have seen, magnitudes of these requests. I would have to anticipate we've probably seen well over 1,000 town approval requests across all towns over the last 14 years, as far as approval of building a residential structure in the Ag 1 or the F1 zone district. And I have not seen one of those special use applications denied. The only time I've seen unique things with them, I do know that the town of Bass Lake has put some conditions on some of these where that no additional subdivision of that lot is allowed. I've seen those conditions added. I believe the town of Hayward has done that before as well. And just recently, we saw the town of Round Lake do one that was a little bit unique in that they did approve the special use, but they conditioned that the applicant rezone the property. This was a unique one in that it was a 1 acre lot of agricultural 1. So it was a substandard size zone district. But again, this process has been around for 14 years. It seemingly works well for me. Now, if there was a concern moving forward where, this committee, this county, their citizens, everyone involved was saying, we don't want more people to build in the forestry zone district or the agricultural zone districts, then we gotta, go back to the drawing board and kind of reinvent the wheel here. From everything that I've ever heard from town officials is that, yes, we want you in our town. Yes, we want you to build because ultimately we want to put you on the tax roll. That's what I've heard in the past. If that mentality has changed, let's go back to the drawing board and reinvent this process. Otherwise, this is the requirements that we have. I mean, one of the other, considerations that we've recently heard are these, blanket approval approaches. We have seen several of these new subdivision plats that have been approved. The one we just approved today, Tuscobia Woods, they're zoned forestry 1. This requires a special use permit approval process. When you're going through a plat approval process, it should be fully indicated to the town as well as the zoning committee that, these are anticipated for future residential lots. Why would you not at that same time, grant the additional approval of building a residential structure when you're proposing a subdivision plat, right? And I see that from the developer's standpoint, where if they end up, getting the plat approved and then, putting it out on the market and say, Mr. Schuman, I have a 5-acre lot for you to build. And you say, well, are there any other circumstances or conditions I have to be aware about? Oh, by the way, you may have to get town board approval for building a residential structure in a forestry zone district. It could potentially scare a buyer away. There's this other element of approvals that they have to go through. So that's why you're starting to see these blanket approval approaches. There's nothing in the current ordinance that prohibits a town from approving a special use permit as a blanket approval process. There was a previous comment that was made that, well, generally these approval processes that are submitted to the town also are accompanied with the land use permit for the building itself. They wanted to see the actual size and development of the structure. That is not specified in ordinance either. I cannot approve the land use permit for the build until the town approves the use of a residential structure in that zone district. But the town specifically does not have parameters over setback requirements or building design parameters. Those are set forth by other Sawyer County zoning ordinances. All the town is asked of and requested of is the use of a residential structure in that zone district. And I think I've talked long enough, and that's my 2 cents on that.
Yeah, and I talked to Jay quite a bit on these special use permits, and with the way it is right now, and he says there's not been any problems with them. So, like, why do we need to change anything? If it works, leave it alone. So,
Like I said, I've never seen one denied, and there's got to be over 1,000.
all right. Linda, can you go quickly?
Morning, I emailed you, what I'd like to talk about now. Would anybody want to have a copy?
No, I read it.
I would.
Okay. So you would, Jay?
Yeah, I don't know what you're referring to.
Well, you know what? I don't have that many.
I'll look on with Jade.
I
read it this morning.
So having been here 20 years, I can say mostly what Jay said was right about some of the history. However, it was never a conditional use permit. It was always a special use permit. And it wasn't the full-blown thing like you saw with the gravel pits today. They were in a separate agenda area. And what was required to be provided were the building plans and also a bill of materials with an estimated cost so that the zoning committee was, not fragmenting forest lands or agricultural lands just to put a little tiny cabin on there. Phil knows more of this history, and I think it all had to do too with when the county said that you could no longer have private cabins on county forest. The process as far as the special use permit, the town approval on a one-by-one basis, individual basis, when the town is presented with the land use application information, not an approved land use permit, but the application, then the town has something on which to make a decision. So what is provided on the county's website today is the special use application. And again, that looks like it's from the old PDF file and it's not your current code of ordinances. But it says in that language there that the special use application has to include all the information that's provided for in the land use application. So then if you go to the land, and what I gave you is the whole set of applicable zoning ordinances. And so the town should not be pre-approving them. And also when there is a subdivision and it's in forestry or ag, we have subdivisions all over this county that have never developed. You cannot assume that all those lots on some day are going to have dwellings on them. The special use permit on a one-by-one basis, providing the towns with all the information. I'm not arguing that that should not continue. What I'm saying is that blanket pre-approvals have been questioned. They've been questioned by the Town of Round Lake Plan Commission. They were questioned by the Town of Hayward. This all started with the Town of Hayward. This is one of those things where this was tried to be put through the town without ever bringing it to you as a committee. So your own ordinances require that a special use permit before it goes to towns has all the land use application information. So if a town can't pre-approve like this Tuscobia, whatever it was, all those lots. And that's part of the conversation that Jim Bassett and I had. It was special use permits were intended for one-on-one as the dwelling was being applied for, not a blanket special use ahead of time. Taking the preserve phases, the issues there is that those subdivisions have roads. And if towns are giving away their pre-approval rights, they have no leverage to place conditions on how a lot is developed. And so to say that there's not been controversy over the blanket special use permits, I disagree. And please read your own ordinance because it requires.
Where are you seeing that it needs to have a land use permit submitted to the town?
Not the permit, the application. The information that's contained in the land use application has to be submitted.
So your first highlighted is 6.92 in addition to the information required under section 9.2 land use permits?
Yes.
And then comma, the zoning administrator may require the applicant to submit additional info?
Yeah, so in addition to the land use permit information, the application information listed in 9.2, you may also require additional information. Because if you deem that more information is needed to send to the town, you have that authority. And then when the town gets all that information, they also have a right to place conditions on it. That's all in the language.
And I think that's a great dialogue and discussion, but I would ultimately default that back to the town. If the town doesn't want to approve the special use because they don't have a land use permit to base additional information on, then it's the town's decision to deny or table the special use.
A town board that exists in 2024 is not a town board that's going to exist in 2030. And that's been part of the discussion at towns as to why some members did not want to go this blanket pre-approval route is because what basis does a town board in 2020, well, we're in 2025 now, have to pre-approve something that a town board in 2030 or later has to deal with?
Yeah, I guess we'll probably be at an impasse there because I see it, this is a special use, the use of a residential structure.
No, it's a special use permit. It is a permit.
All right, I'm gonna cut this off.
Thank you.
Because I want to get the heck out of here.
Yeah, well, I guess I want to make heads or tails. I mean, if I'm
Yeah, and I
not
understand that.
administrating this portion of the ordinance properly by not requiring that a land use permit needs to be submitted with a special use permit, I gotta know.
Right.
Otherwise, I would default to say to the town, if you need to see a permit as part of this use, then I guess let's make that clarification and let's go from there. Otherwise, I've always seen that the use is being requested as residential structure and that I and my department would be reviewing the land use permit to make sure it meets other ordinance requirements.
Yep. Okay. All right. Going on to number B, condo storage units, discussion only. And I'm going to say right now, I'm not letting anybody speak. The only one that's going to get to speak at the new business is Laura because she didn't get to speak at public comment. So
the next agenda item was something that you guys wanted added from comments that we received last month about the condo storage units. There's been some, I guess, concerns that those condo storage units would potentially contain habitable living area or going to be marketed as habitable living area. The permit for approval specifically prohibited habitation to be included in those buildings. They are to be used for commercial use and permitted commercial use only. I've had several conversations with the applicant that if they are planning to include habitable living area, we had to go a completely different direction on this and really almost have this as a planned unit development or some type of approval process. They've continuously stated, no, there is to be no habitation. I've already seen a draft version of the covenants that the condo declaration would have. The condo declaration further illustrates that there is to be no habitable area in those units. The units themselves are in construction phase. There are bathrooms included in these units. The bathroom units do not contain a shower or bathtub. They just contain a wash sink and a toilet, similar to that of being something that would be used for a commercial use, an office use. They are marketing these specifically as glorified storage units. Apparently, there's some niche out there where people want, not just a, concrete slab and a little garage door. They want, finished concrete. They want it heated. They want a little bathroom. They could ultimately be used as, shops or, personal office space. I have no other evidence at this point that would suggest that there's to be any habitable living area associated in those buildings. That is all.
Okay, thanks, Jay. All right, number C, proposed draft amendment for apartment complexes.
Yeah, so this came up last month. Do you have that one? Do I have that one? Get the handout, John. Oh, I have it as an attachment here too. So last month we talked about apartment complexes or apartment buildings. Nothing in zoning ordinance right now has any listing of apartments. We have this multi-dwelling development, this multi-family dwelling, but we do not have anything that specifically illustrates apartments. We talk about, the strategic plan and the goals that were identified by you, the County Board of Supervisors. One of your 5 elements that you've identified for strategic planning has been affordable housing opportunities. There's only one department in this entire county that really has any impact or play with how we could address affordable housing. And that, in my opinion, is through zoning ordinances. I believe currently that our current zoning ordinance strictly prohibits a lot of additional affordable housing opportunities, whether it be in the form of apartment complexes, whether it be the form of townhouses or row houses or joint living facilities known as multifamily dwellings. This is one of the reasons why I severely consider and would advocate for needing a full rewrite of the zoning ordinance to specifically address some of the housing needs that this county is facing. One of the quickly identified ones, and not even to get into the potentials of the multi-dwelling development aspects, but would be apartments and the allowance of apartments with a conditional use permit within a commercial zone district. We've seen several areas within the city of Hayward that has a business use below the building and has apartment complex and apartment units above. We don't have that in the county right now. It's only found within the city. As part of the other proposal of a rewrite, we would also look at, carving out new and unique zone districts, call it a commercial residential zone district. But to move forward and, allow some additional opportunities for affordable housing, in my opinion, would be allowing of apartment complexes in a commercial zone district by a conditional use permit. I've made and grabbed the definition for apartments and put it as part of the definitions as per the Sawyer County Code of Ordinances, and then listed apartments under the commercial zone district as a use authorized by conditional use, provided that each apartment unit contains a minimum of 10,000 square feet of land area per the commercial 1 zone district. The reason why I grabbed 10,000 square feet is that is the anticipated change that the multi-dwelling development committee had made for the additional area required within the R1 zone district. The other aspect we had looked at, this came up several months ago. I didn't know how or when or where I was going to potentially put this in, but we're seeing a couple of these home bakeries. There's at least 2 that I've identified. There may be more, there probably is more. But these home bakeries, they're a unique niche. They really have, some type of, commercial play aspect to them, but we're seeing these as not a huge, not a downtown bakery, right? Where people are coming in, they're buying donuts, they're buying salads, they're buying cakes. This is, an older retired individual that has time on their hands that they're making some loaves of bread and some pastries, and they're wanting to sell them to other people. I think it's a great opportunity for someone to do that, but our ordinances really don't allow for it. So What I've put into this portion of a potential ordinance amendment is the definition of a bakery, a home bakery. I grabbed this specifically from the state statutes. They further break down what is to not potentially hazardous goods. So those would be ones that would not contain ingredients that need filling or refrigeration, because there is, a mixing of potential pathogens with something like that. There's also the aspects that they could be more defined as a commercial kitchen, which really would, be something that would have to be as a commercial zone district. I mean, this is someone baking bread at their house and then wanting to sell it to individuals. We wouldn't probably ever do anything with someone that's just baking bread in their house and then taking it to a farmer's market. This is specifically someone that's baking those goods in their home and then selling them on site. I would propose that we would allow those types of uses within the agricultural 1 and agricultural 2 zone district as a conditional use permit. Those is the nutshell of the proposed ordinance amendments you have in front of you. Really just open discussion at this point. I don't need motions to move this to the town yet. I think I'd want to at least have one more kick of this before we'd send something out to the towns. But open it up for other.
Yeah, I know, back at a few other meetings that we had, we discussed these bakeries in-home stuff, and like you say, I'm not against that. But I do believe that we have to have some kind of stipulations on that. And then Jay also, when we were talking about it with him, what's going into their septic system with what they're putting down their sinks, yeast or whatever, so is that a problem? Could be, so.
And those would be the two big concerns, that I would see as part of a conditional use permit is, let's get a structure on hours of operation. How many days are you going to be open? What are your hours of operation that people can come and purchase baked goods from your house? And really 2 is looking at, well, what's your sewer system? Is it sized accordingly? Is there potential of, high strength wastewater that's going into this sewer system? And now your domestic wastewater that's getting commingled with that, is that getting the proper treatment before, potentially re-entering groundwater? So those would be the concerns that I've identified. And that's why I'd want to continue them to be still as a conditional use permit, so we can flush those aspects out.
Good deal.
I agree.
So, all right.
So any other comments from the committee? Otherwise, I'll bring this back next month. I mean, you can certainly, drop me off additional comments. I'd actually, ask the audience if there's any additional concerns or questions or comments on this. Let's kind of, focus on some of these and make those corrections before we'd end up having this sent out to the towns and ultimately a public hearing process.
Okay. All right. So number D, Laura, we're saving the best for last.
This is for the zoning committee members. I served on the MDD ad hoc committee meeting, and we put in a lot of effort, a lot of time, a lot of meetings. And the individual members did a lot of research. And as we see today, the special permit discussions that Jay was just having, those are things that we did come up with ideas for. And I would hope that the zoning committee would be interested in hearing all of the things that we discussed and recommendations that were made. We spent a lot of time haggling over. We had legal input. We did not have a final legal review of all of our suggestions and the information to back up the decisions we made. But I also don't think, in light of now we're talking about a complete zoning ordinance rewrite, hopefully all of the time that we spent is not to be wasted. And I would just like to request that this zoning committee be interested in the work that we did. That's it.
Yeah, and the comment to Laura, I believe as soon as legal goes over it, it is going to come to the zoning committee, right, Jay?
Yeah, well, and legal has gone over it. So legal had identified a few concerns, one major concern, and that's really with the condominium form of ownership. And we really never broached, how are we going to solve those potentials, because we talked about, you could rental of a condo plat, multiple units within a condo plat. I mean, legal had some concerns about that can't potentially do that, right? So those conversations went back to the chair of the multi-dwelling development committee, and I've never heard responses back from them. At that same time, we had that Assembly Bill 449 show its ugly head. the potential allowance of accessory dwelling units, I was, again, trying to somewhat delay to see what's gonna happen with that. If that falls off the floor at state legislation, then we're gonna pick MDD back up and, hit the ground running. If that gets additional traction and becomes to law, we're back to the drawing board on MDD because we have to allow for ADUs, which is a scary thought, right? Right. What I'd like to do, and I'd propose, and I'd bring this up as another agenda item for next month. I can share with the committee the work that the ad hoc committee has done, give another update of where ABB 449 is at, as well as maybe have Rebecca articulate again some of the concerns with the, the condo form of ownership, and see if we can proceed with the work that the ad hoc has done, so.
And I guess that was what, the last meeting that we held, that was the way we walked out, thinking, okay, legal is going to review this, and if there are legal concerns, we wanted to meet again so we could be apprised of what those concerns were. And if we needed to start rehashing something, as much as all of us didn't really care for more and more and more meetings, we were certainly welcome.
Yeah, and it probably is ultimately, my fault on this, where I didn't want to put additional work onto you, have you go through all the changes that legal would have made, and then 449 gets signed into law. And now that 449 is in the law, that doesn't matter what legal did because we're already back to the drawing board anyway. So it was my anticipation to see let the cards would fall on 449, and then after that's decided one way or the other, that we'd pick up the pieces. But if we want to roll forward and roll the dice with what happens with 449, that's fine too. So.
Okay, well, I just wanted to make the committee aware.
Yep.
All right.
Thanks for that, Laura. All right. No other business that may come before this committee. I want to thank everybody. We are adjourned.
Amen.
Before we get on overtime.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you, Rebecca.
We're
Bye.
saving
Have
the
a great
county money,
evening.
Mike.
Thanks, Mr. Magnuson. See you guys.
Hey, good luck to you too.
See ya, Jay.
See ya, Dale.
Yep, see you, Ron.